It's time for Macbreak Weekly. Jason, Andy, and Alex are all in, and we have lots to talk about. Tomorrow's the big day. What will Apple announce? What won't they announce? What we're looking forward to, and just exactly how expensive is tomorrow going to be? Next on Macbreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Macbreak Weekly, episode 834, recorded Tuesday, September 6th, 2022. The Magic 8 Snell. Macbreak Weekly is brought to you by Nomad. Go to nomadgoods.com/Macbreak. Use the promo code Macbreak for 10% off your first purchase of any Nomad accessory, Apple Watch straps, wireless chargers, ultra-durable cables, and more. It's a limited time offer. And by ZipRecruiter. Hiring is challenging, but there's one place where finding great candidates is easy. ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter finds and matches the right candidates for you. And our listeners can try it free right now at ZipRecruiter.com/MacBreak. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And by CashFly. Deliver your video on the network with the best throughput and global reach, making your content infinitely scalable. Go live in hours, not days. Learn more at cashfly.com. It's time for Macbreak Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news for Apple, which is all happening tomorrow. Somebody said brightly, why don't you do Macbreak Weekly on Wednesday? We could have, but there's a complicated thing going on and it couldn't. So that's okay. That's okay, because this is our peerless prognostication panel today. Jason Snell is here from sixcolors.com. Hello, Jason. 77 degrees in the garage.
Hot. Yeah, it's gonna be mid-90s in Cupertino tomorrow.
Yikes!
So what a hot event! It'll be the hottest Apple event in, I don't know, probably in a year or two.
Yikes! Andy, Ihnatko, where it's cooler but a little wet.
It's very, very damp here. It's not the humidity. It's the flooding out of the major artery leading in and out of all cities in New England. So, but I would much rather be rained on than in 97-degree weather again. I'm fine. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, a little rain, that's not going to hurt. Also, Mr. Alex Lindsay back from a very important something or other last week. It's good to have you back, Alex. Good to see you.
It was a little... It's good. Good to see you too. It was. I can't say anything, but it was.
No, I know.
Surreal.
When the White House calls, you got to show up. I understand.
It wasn't the White House.
How was Philadelphia?
Yeah, it was.
When there's a new Star Wars production, got to get. You got to snap to it.
I can say. I was directed to shoot from my house I was directed to shoot in L.A. from my house with someone that's pretty important in L.A. But the fact that I was giving them notes, through Zoom watching, I was like, this is the craziest
But it's amazing,
ever.
And I think it's thanks to OfficeHours.global that you can actually do that. You could direct from your home.
Oh, yeah. Well, we had a bunch of Office Hours folks that were actually at, there was an ARRI LF and, a bunch of stuff being fed into Zoom and, all the pro stuff. And then as soon as it was done, it was sent to the Philippines to another Office Hours person who did the audio, sent to New York for another Office Hours person that did the color correction, came back and was delivered, in one day.
Oh my God. It's like the Labor Day weekend, like the old telethon. It's the Love Network. It's the Office Hours Love Network. and you're Jerry Lewis.
You'll never walk alone. All right. So that was the weather forecast. Although today in Petaluma it's going to be 109. It was 110 yesterday.
110 in Novato. It literally felt when I walked. I'd walk out onto the deck, and it literally felt like I walked into an oven.
Yeah.
And my wife said it feels like a sauna. I'm like, well, the sauna actually doesn't get up this.
Yeah, but they're not. The state of California won't let it get any hotter than 104.
Yeah.
So
this is why, like, Apple is such a bunch of control freaks. I've got them. I wonder if they're scrambling, saying everybody's going to be hot and unair conditioned and really, really grumpy as they get their first look at our new stuff. Is that going to work out well for us, or should we basically get some sort of an external chiller unit and going inside the Steve Jobs Theater? It's like,
I did get a note from Apple PR today saying the weather is forecast to be hot. Please plan accordingly. So when I show up in the tank top and shorts. I assume they're just going to welcome me as a liberator.
What would Steve Jobs do? So maybe now, if I look at the far out invite, those are ice crystals instead of stars, galaxies.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
imagine
carbon dioxide bubbles.
Maybe they'll mist us all on the way in. They'll just have misters up.
What did they say the temperature was going to be? 100? or 90s?
Tomorrow it'll be in the mid-90s.
Mid-90s is nothing.
Racing.
Practically winter.
And according to the invite, you're going to be inside. You're going to be in the Steve Jobs Theater. I bet you not everybody.
Say. I think so. I think the whole gang is going to be in the SJT. Now, whether we'll just be sitting there watching a live stream in person on a screen, or whether there'll be some live component,
almost certainly
seen.
Because whether they do at WWDC, Tim came out maybe
before the show. Tim and Craig Federighi came in, but that was not streamed live. That was just literally like a little
I saw
like at a film festival or something where the director comes out before the movie and is like, I hope you enjoy my movie and goodbye. And you never see him again.
And then the big screen and you guys are all outside. Yeah. They go to dinner. No, they don't. They're sitting in the back of the theater listening for reactions, just like in the producers. The thing goes, and then probably you'll have a demo room.
Yeah, the way that the SJT works, it's because it was built. So this is the brilliant thing, right? Is they built it for Apple events. It specifically made this whole building for these events. So there is this. It's circular. People have seen it's circular. There's a top level, and then there's a staircase down to a lower level that's like a circular room that's very large, and then from there you descend. You actually enter at the top of the theater and go down into the seats. Now that center area there's like a, I don't even know what to call it. There's like a rotating partition that can come out, and it completely blocks what's in that second level center area. So all you can do is go down the stairs and all the way into the theater. And then by the time you come out, they've rotated that center around and revealed the big demo area. So it's purpose built for this.
Exactly what they're going to do. Seating capacity 2,000, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean,
I think it's like 1,000.
It's 1,000.
Yeah, it's a big. It's like that sounds about right. It's like a big movie theater.
Well, I'm sure I can just do this seating capacity Steve Jobs Theater and get the answer.
The Santa Clara County
Let's see what
Fire
Siri
Marshal
says. Yeah, 1,000. So 1,000 people, and if each seat is worth $14,000. So just do the math. That is going to be a very expensive theater to sit in. 1,000 people means probably one person per publication, I would guess. Yeah.
I don't know. I think Tom's Guide is sending a couple of people.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I think that this is a different guest list. Usually, iPhone events especially have a very international guest list
and much broader too, right?
And a much broader, right? Because there's so much. This is by far the most important Apple event of the year. I know we all in this community are like, well, it's another Apple event, but like on the outside, in the outside world, like the attention is most focused on the iPhone event. And so the press list usually is fairly eclectic, but I think this year they've done a different list because of COVID, because this is their first event back in the Steve Jobs Theater. I think they've kind of restrained their invitation list a little bit, and we'll probably see a lot less especially international travel, I will think, and it'll be a smaller group. I don't know how, I mean, they'll probably try to fill the theater, but I wouldn't put it past them to not even fill the theater and have it be even smaller than that. I think they wanted to keep this light. Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll look with interest. Often what they do, if they don't invite 1,000 journalists, which they never do, is fill the rest with employees, right?
Right. And it depends on, again, how they feel about COVID. They might decide that it's better for everybody if it's a little bit more sparsely attended, especially if it's only a playback and they don't have a crowd with applause piped in for the show, right? If that's all, you know, that's why you do that, is the showbiz part of it. So if all we're doing is sitting there and watching a video so that we can go into the hands-on area, then it doesn't matter who's there. Because it's not part of the show. It's just like WWDC, we weren't part of the show.
No accident that Apple insisted workers come back to work yesterday, which is Labor Day, so I doubt anybody came back to work. But today presumably will be the first day. They said Tuesday, Thursday, and a third day to be named by your boss. So that means the largest number of people everybody will be there today. Yeah. Tomorrow, I imagine a lot of people will still be there because, you want to be there.
Probably a lot of people there over the weekend, at least in the theater.
The people Alex, were there. Yeah. They rehearse like crazy over the weekend. Oh, but this isn't live.
But it's Mark Gurman, I think, reported that they were already recording stuff like a month ago for this. So.
I remember that. Yeah. So it's all done. Are they editing like crazy? Are they editing at the last minute? Are they pulling? Are they yanking the special segment all about the, VR glasses? Are they, fine tuning? What are they doing?
I mean, there have definitely been some stories of things that just didn't make it.
You even noticed a couple of events ago a jump cut that you were sure.
Yeah, there was something missing. I have no idea what it was.
Betrayed something missing.
Yeah, something like they had a whole bunch of transitions, and then one of them just went one from the next to the next, and I was like, ooh, someone took something out there.
At frame 264, you see that the president
it's the Zapruder film of Apple events.
It's like a little glitch, Yeah, exactly. But there have been stories about how things have come up, oftentimes things that end up making it into the keynote that came to the last minute, where they were ready to do it. And I know folks that have worked on, years ago, over a decade ago, that have worked on keynotes where for the 3 days before the event, they were sitting there on flames, putting stuff together, at incredible rates, to put final touches on these things. But generally, 95 to 98% of it is pretty well figured out, especially, this is the biggest event of the year. This is the one that pays for everybody's salary.
It's so important. So today they're probably doing a full dress run through, playing back the things, rotating the elevator, doing all the things that you got to do.
Right.
Make sure that elevator
that's the team that's been working hard. Like if we assume that this is either 99% or 100% pre-recorded, it's the on-site event, so it's PR and the on-site event people, and what they're doing is it's the hands-on area, and what do you say, and what's the pattern that you use, because the people at the hands-on area, right, like every phone will have a minder will know what to show and what to say, and a little cloth to wipe it down afterward, and all of those sort of things, and they'll be doing all of that kind of event prep today.
Did they give you any COVID information? I think you have to test the day before, right?
Yeah, I got a test today, although they said if you don't want to share with the testing clearinghouse that they've got, you can literally bring a picture of your negative test from an at-home test.
Which means you'll be in that long line. You don't want that.
I don't quite understand the whole test thing. Like, they don't ask for like a date to be on it or to anything else. They just show us a picture of.
Oh, no. There's got to be a date. No. There's got to be a date. And they're saying 24 hours ahead of time, right?
A lot of people say that.
It is, to a certain extent, it is an honor system thing, because as with WWDC, because what you are doing, because they don't want to go through like in the early days of the pandemic when you could fly to Hawaii, but you had to get the full on test, right? They want the at home test to be allowed. And I'm sure they check like the date stamp of the photo. But if you literally had a photo of an old test or someone else's
you
test,
can show them the plastic thing and say, here's my test?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
you're right.
Here's the deal.
That is not.
I test myself to go into buildings.
I have a drawer full of negative tests. Are you kidding?
Right, but so every time I do it, I'm like swabbing, going, I can't believe I'm doing this again, because I've got like 20 of them on my phone. I'm like, I can just show one.
I think
You're
the
an
idea.
Person.
I mean, it's an honor system thing. I think the idea there also is they just want you. They figure most of the people are going to be doing it in good conscience. And what they really, I think, are trying to do is get somebody who thinks they're fine, who's asymptomatic and tests positive, to realize it before they set foot in the Steve Jobs Theater.
That's sensible.
I think that's probably what they're going for. By the way, though, I will say, what was a very big surprise to me, there's no masking required, unlike WWDC. So if you
and they're indoors
tomorrow,
this time, unlike WWDC.
Yeah, no masking required. I'll bring mine, but because I'm not going to sit in a big movie theater full of people unmasked. I'm just not gonna go that far. But I think that's an interesting choice they made, that they're having everybody test, but they're not having everybody mask indoors.
I think they should have people who are masked on the left and people who are unmasked on the right, so we know, and an aisle between them.
Where's the AC pointed?
Yeah, right.
I have to say, I find that super disappointing, because I mean, I had to write something about COVID just last week, so I really had to update all my COVID knowledge, and it's not getting that much better.
15,000 people die every week from COVID.
Yeah, I mean the CDC numbers they were increasing over the summer. They started to flatten over the past month or two, which is good, but this is not over with. And a company like Apple has the ability to not only protect all the people in that theater, but also the sign that they're conveying by saying, here, every time there's a shot of the crowd, look, there's everybody wearing masks. Yes, we asked everybody to wear masks if they want to be inside this place, and that has the effect of reminding people that this thing isn't over yet. So that's very disappointing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I think if you're going to do that, you really just need to hand out N95s, because the cloth ones are useless.
So they do. at WWDC they did that, and it's it's like the Apple designed ones that they give to the people in retail.
Like, I would go practically just for that mask.
What do you get? What is the Apple mask?
So I walked up to someone at the Apple store, and I was like, I got to ask you something. And they looked at me like, what do you need to know? And I was like, where'd you get the mask? Like, it's so well designed. And they're like, oh, we made them.
Yeah, the Apple
made them. And the Apple designed masks, they're N95, and they are super stylish, and they look super comfortable. Are they comfortable?
I haven't worn one yet. I got one, but I brought my own with me, so I've saved it. I may wear it tomorrow. Yeah. Who knows? We'll see.
Good. It looks so good.
Do they have the Apple logo on it?
No, a little. It's like indented. Or at least the one in the Apple store, it has like a little Apple thing on one of the corners, but otherwise it's typical Apple. There's almost no, and it looks so nice. And I was like, I want, for a while I was really on a streak of buying lots and lots of masks.
Is this the mask here? Is that the one?
It's hard to tell from that.
It's beautiful.
From that distance, but it's
beautiful.
really, really well done.
And we're all mask connoisseurs after 2.5 years of this.
Exactly.
This is where we are.
Yeah, it's like it's the equivalent of being sponge worthy. I have the KN95s for I'm just going to the supermarket, but I have like the really nice 3M ones for I'm going to be spending like 3 or 4 hours on Amtrak, or I'm going to be like inside a theater for 3 or 4 hours. So yeah,
the masks were designed and developed by the engineering and industrial design teams at Apple, the same folks that do the iPhone.
Yeah.
Here's an unboxing video that somebody's put on YouTube.
There you go.
Is this Unbox Therapy? Did he get the?
They should have sold these.
11 million views. People really care about the masks. Oh wait a minute. Is this Marquez? This is an unboxing. Anyway, wow. That's pretty impressive. Oh, here it is. I guess this is Marquez doing this. So Mark Gurman shared photos. It was Unbox Therapy that had the video of unboxing the Apple mask. Man, that's that's when you know you have reached next level on the unboxing.
Like they should have made them available. A lot of us would have bought them if they had sold them.
Designed by Apple in California, it says, assembled in China. Comes with a very special Apple-y pouch.
Did you get a sticker with it?
Get a sticker.
Get a sticker.
But they look good. They look very complete and thorough. They look like
They probably didn't sell them because they're keeping them for themselves. I mean, every company of this scale, they have their own version of FEMA internally, so that they want to make sure that if there is a disaster like wildfires, that they can take care of all their people. They have for all of their organizations that know exactly like what the threat level is at every country. Like if the political situation in a certain country suddenly goes south, again, they have a built-in organization that says we have an extraction plan for everybody. We know exactly where everybody is in this country where things have suddenly gotten hostile. We have an extraction plan for them if we need it. And these companies, it's one of the most interesting things that I've ever learned about huge companies. They even run disaster drills where, I'm not joking, where they will have the team that works on this say, okay, they will open up the envelope and say, okay, there is a viral pandemic that's killing 40% of the population in a certain country. Go. What do you do? And they run through all of these scenarios, and it's gamed out like, okay, oh, by the way, it turns out that all the airports have suddenly been closed because they're suddenly not allowing any flights in and out. What do we do now? And and not just tech companies, but any big international company has all this stuff. So it's not surprising that Apple designed its own mask, is stockpiling its own stuff, and is ready to take care of its people, and not only take care of its people, but keep the company going no matter what happens.
Jason, if they offer you an Apple mask, do not open the box. Bring it home.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I have 2 in the other room from WWDC.
I think you should tell them, I need 4 for my friend, because then we can all have one.
So if I bring one to wear and they offer me more, I'm going to be like, well, yes, I do need
I'll
one.
Take
and
them.
then
yes, exactly.
right.
And wear a Scotty vest. And
then, just come back. Just walk out and come back and go, I misplaced my mask. And just do that a couple times so we all can end up with one. Yeah.
Bring your shoplifting pants.
Are we excited about tomorrow?
We're definitely excited about the masks.
Apparently, the masks are the story. Yeah. We're excited about iPhone, 4 of them, not a mini. Sorry, Jason. An iPhone 14, the iPhone 14 and 14. I'm guessing
Plus.
Max. Oh, plus.
Gurman
it's a plus
says it's
size.
plus. Yeah.
iPhone and 14 and iPhone 14 Plus, and those will have the A15 chip in them. Last year's chip, is that right?
Yep.
The iPhone. Well, now what does Gurman say the Pros will be? Pro, iPhone Pro,
Pro and Pro Max.
Pro and Pro
Still,
Max,
same name,
with the A16 chip in it. The biggest story of the week, because there's nothing to say, is the pill. Right? There will be, we've, I think, known for some time that they would have a cutout. Actually, two. They'll have a, and Gurman confirms this, they'll have a, let me see if I can find a picture of this here. They'll have a, why do they show the backside of it? I don't care. They have a lozenge. They'll have a lozenge, and they'll have a dot. But everybody's confirmed now, and I think this is offensive to some, that the screen in between the lozenge and the dot will be darkened so it can perform like a little warning light when the camera or microphone are on. Am I saying that correctly? So it will be it'll look like a big lozenge, but it isn't. And then I also ask, what of this region above the lozenge and the dot?
Yeah.
That seems wasted screen real estate. The notifications will appear side by side with the lozenge and the dot.
It'll be, background color fill, right? So it'll feel like it's of a whole, but you can't put any information up there.
Right. But also, if you're watching video, if there's a dark background, you might not notice that hole is there, and so that might give you a virtualized idea that the screen is as big as it actually is.
Okay. It seems to be I mean, look, these are big screens. They're 6.7 inch on the Max and the Pro Plus, but still, it seems like a waste. Why not? Why is the lozenge better than the cutout? The notch.
Who cares?
Who cares?
Edge.
Sorry, I don't understand.
But they spent a lot of energy doing it. I mean, they must.
People haven't spent a lot of energy talking about it. Like I look at it and I'm just like, I just don't care.
I've long ago forgotten that I had a cutout. Right.
My argument would be mostly that it looks different, and Apple would tell you that because the background is going to match the whatever the background of the screen is, it gives this impression of the size of the screen being edge to edge, even though there's this cutout part. And I think ultimately, it's about Apple's visual identity for the iPhone. That, remember, it used to be rectangle and a little home button,
right? And
then it became rectangle with a notch out of it. And that people mocked the notch, but Apple started to use, like, what does a silhouette of an iPhone look like? And it looked like a screen with a notch out of it. And so now it's going to be a screen with a little rectangular, with curved edges window in it. And that's going to represent what the iPhone screen looks like for a year or two or three until they go to the next one. So I think I think they feel like it's a design variation that lets people say, oh, this looks a little different. And also that kind of mental game of, it makes it feel like the screen is extending to the edge because you can see that little extra bit of information there, or a little bit of color there, even though it doesn't impart any information. I do like the idea of the indicators hiding in the little cap, though, because I always hated the indicators kind of floating in the corner to tell you that the camera's on or the microphone's on.
Yeah, I agree with the idea that just having even that sliver of screen that continues the background to the actual edge of the device itself is an important part of design language, and I think that's what the design team at Apple were really hot for. I think that I have to go back to iFixit teardowns to wonder to figure out if was there a technological reason why they couldn't do any kind of an edge-to-edge? Were they hiding some sort of a driver chip or something at the edge of the panel at the very, very top there that made it easier or impossible for them to even have that sliver at the very, very top when they decided to do the brow at the top there? There are times where I think that a lot of what Apple does, God bless them, is that they really do think that it's almost right, but it's not right. Design-wise, we would want to do this, but we can't do it this time, but we're going to do it again next time. And sometimes that leads to like design wonkery, but sometimes it really is aesthetic. Sometimes it really is, this is our goal, is to make the entire thing as good as we can possibly make it. And sometimes putting an extra 6 pixels at the top of the display above the cutout is actually part of that mandate.
By the way, Google's event is coming up October 6th. The invites went out. Nobody cares. This is something somebody cares less about than the lozenge and dot. Okay.
Can I say that why doesn't Apple like do things like this? It's October 6th, and that date kind of stuck out to me for some reason. And then I realized that that's day one of New York Comic Con that lasts like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday that I wasn't going to go to because I didn't want to make a special trip out for it. And so why doesn't Apple just find out, hey, Steely Dan is playing like nearby that night? You'll get more people flying out for it.
The Google event is in New York? Is that where it is?
It's in Brooklyn. It's actually in Brooklyn. It's like that. It's at they're doing the hands-on. They found a place right near their new Brooklyn store, and they're doing the hands-on event right at their Brooklyn store.
So this is Andy Ihnatko, who is our overseas reporter, filling us in on what the other folk are doing.
Exactly, from the double agent. As I'm very proud and sometimes bewildered by the fact that when I talk about Apple on a Google show, I'm just an Apple fanboy. When I talk about Google on an Apple show, I'm the Google fanboy.
You can't win.
You can't
Brilliant.
win. So this is going to be only their third Google store. So there's probably a lot of hype going on. So we want to make sure that people know we want to get a freebie with people or press guests to see our new Brooklyn store as well.
Yeah,
but I have
Thursday,
to say
October 6th, 10 a.m. We'll cover it live. That's 7 a.m. our time, so that means I won't be here because I'll be fast asleep.
I can also see the new Meta Opera production of Medea that night.
Oh my God, Andrew!
I gotta go.
I've known Andy for 25 years, and he works up to this, right? He's like, October 6th. And he's like, but wait a second. I know how important October 6th is. It's because of Comic-Con. And I think, but Andy, it's also your pal Jason's birthday.
Oh, you thought he was going to say happy birthday. They're doing it for you, Jason.
Now you're not going to be surprised when that fruit bouquet shows up at your door. Well, happy birthday, Mr. Spoiler.
Google will announce a new
Google
watch.
will get me something good for my birthday.
We already know because Google has said what they're going to announce.
They'll give you a watch that you probably won't ever want to touch. Heck, yay!
I don't know. I think the Pixel Watch looks pretty. The problem is the Apple ecosystem is the draw is so strong that it's hard to move over. We did see a new rendering of the Apple Watch Pro Plus Max Extreme. With the
mystery button.
Has anybody come up with a new name for that?
Gurman thinks it's going to be called Pro. I still think that it's a possibility that it's just going to be a third size class, but Gurman thinks that they're going to limit it to titanium and they're going to call it Pro, and it's going to be this
he doesn't know. He hasn't heard. He thinks it's like close to $1,000, right? Based on its features.
Which fits into like what the Garmin watches are that are those extreme sports watches. It's a category that we always think of like a cheap sports watch that costs $200, but that sports watch category there are a lot of $1,000 and up watches in that category. It's actually not Apple entering and making an outrageous price. I think from the perspective of Apple Watch, we'll look at it and be like, $1,000 Apple Watch, that's outrageous. But $1,000 sports watches are a dime a dozen or $1,000 a dozen.
And that's not that big of a watch. Like I've had watches that are bigger. Like it's not like when they say, it's too big, no one's going to buy it. I'm like,
but this is, as Gurman pointed out, to compete with the Garmin and other high-end sport watches that are around $1,000.
And Garmin is, according to Gurman, he's got that Bloomberg Intelligence, which I really like. The $500 and up smartwatch category, Garmin, you know.
Yeah.
Garmin's the leader, not Apple. It's Garmin because the Garmin GPS watches are so popular, especially with backpackers and other kind of outdoors people who want to have that data and that connectivity. So Apple, this is a huge opportunity for Apple in an area that they're going to be comfortable in because it's expensive products. They like that. Yeah. They like being there.
Right.
We forget that what the big deal about the Apple Watch was that it was always founded as a style item where Apple is getting into fashion, Apple is getting into style, and just like Jason said, I mean there are people who have Omega watches that are for scuba divers that need to time their air down to 200 meters, and they're being worn by people like me because cool stuff. It really shows off like my fascination for this stuff. And if there's one thing that's maybe I won't call it a problem, but a factor I think with the Apple Watch is that they all look the same unless you get really close to it. The person who has like the 3-year-old $249 aluminum watch and the person who spent $500 more for the brand new one this year that has the stainless steel case, it's still a pillow square on their wrist with a colorful band on it. If they were to come out with another styling that is essentially the Omega Speedmaster version that has extra buttons on it, that has a different kind of profile, a different kind of shape, that's going to drive a lot of people who are into watches to spend extra money to have this very special looking thing on their wrist that says, I didn't just get this for my bar mitzvah 3 years ago. This is something, I'm a person of elegance and taste who gets the $900 800 ATM version of it.
Alex, you were going to say something.
I am not an advisor for stocks, but if I own, I don't own stock, so I can say this. If I own Garmin stock, not Garmin stock.
Does Garmin have a stock? Because I would buy
Garmin.
Yeah, buy that stock.
Buy Garmin.
Buy that stock. Yeah, absolutely. But if I own Garmin stock, I might take a break today. Just cash in and see how tomorrow goes. You know,
actually, Apple stock is down a little bit right now, but that's usual. You the old saying is you buy sell on the buy on the rumors, sell on the news. Right.
Yeah, so somehow it's
upside down with Apple.
But the Garmin one, I probably, if nothing happens, then nothing will happen to the stock, and you'll just leave.
Right.
And you'll come back to it. If something happens, I think there'll be 6 to 10% less tomorrow.
Wow. If Apple, might be right. Yeah.
If Apple releases something that's very focused on the sports market, regardless of whether it will actually hurt Garmin or not, the folks that are buying stocks might go, well, I need to move things
Here's
around a
the
little bit.
render from 91 Mobiles, which is a Indian gadget site, of what somebody claims is the Apple Watch Pro. Credible?
Yeah, probably.
Who knows?
Well, at this point, maybe.
We'll find out. Yeah, it might be at this point, yeah. The notable difference, it still has rounded corners. It looks a lot like a regular Apple Watch, doesn't it? Except for, what is that hump on the right there? Where normally you'd have a flat button and a knob, you now have a raised bump with the button in the bump. What's that all about?
I don't know.
Don't know.
Nobody knows.
Mystery.
It is a mystery.
Maybe it's just a easier to access button if you were wearing gloves or something like that, instead of having it flush with the side of the thing.
We need Adam Engst on here because we need somebody who's an extreme runner.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I bet Adam wears a Garmin. I wonder what feature of the Garmin this is to compete with.
I think it's for the spider webs.
What's the spider web?
You
come out like this.
Yeah, you just have like a little, I think spider webs would be pretty good for a watch.
I was in driving through Yosemite yesterday, and you're going through these areas where there's no cell coverage, and there's just Labor Day weekend. There's lots of people, and they're in campgrounds, and they're hiking out there. And I was thinking about how that is one of these markets for these kind of watches, and how Apple Watch, up to now, the whole idea of Apple Watch has been, well, let's get to a 1 day of battery life, and you do your workouts, and then you get home and you plug in. It's like, well, okay, that's not going to work in so many of these scenarios. So the idea that this watch is bigger is interesting, but you put a bigger battery in it, and maybe Garmin still is hinting, not Garmin, again, Mark Gurman, that they may do a mode that's basically like a battery saving mode. So the idea that you could say, I'm going out into the wilderness and I need this Apple Watch to last for a week or last for 5 days and still do some tracking and some other functionality, not just be kind of off with a screen that just shows the time. And that is totally an area where it's obvious Apple should go there, especially if Garmin is making so much money on their watches. So a story starts to form there, but I think the interesting idea is that if they call it Pro, I think they're going to want it to be aspirational, right? It's not that you are in the backcountry hiking; it's that you could be. And so buy our watch for
aspirational. Yeah, I'll buy it even though I will never go hiking in the backcountry. I will buy it just because it looks like I'm pretty tough and rough and rugged. So you're saying short Garmin, long Garmin, or is it short Garmin, long Garmin?
Long Garmin.
Long on Garmin, short on
long on Garmin.
Okay.
Show title.
That's why I repeat it. Thank you, Andy, for pointing that out. But we have several show titles, and we're just beginning. Let's take a little break because I want to stop people in their tracks, because I know you're going to buy the iPhone 14. And you're going to go get that overpriced Apple case when you could do so much better with Nomad. Our show today brought to you by Nomad. I love Nomad's cases. I love Nomad's chargers. Before you buy, the stock boring thing, take a look at what Nomad's got. Nomad was founded in 2012. In fact, I think I bought into their first Kickstarter project. They wanted to build ultra-rugged, minimalist tools for the 21st century. Beautiful objects in their own right, not accessories, but beautiful objects in their own right, made from premium materials like Horween leather. This is a beautiful Nomad rugged case that has, this is for my iPhone, that has beautiful Horween leather. That's from the Horween Tannery in Chicago, 100-year-old tannery. And leather fanatics know Horween is the best leather. They make Apple Watch straps. In fact, I'll get whatever the stock watch strap is, but I will almost certainly get a Nomad steel band, or they also have very nice sport bands for my daily driver. And the chargers are the best. I'd have the charger that does the watch and the phone. See that one there right there? But Lisa stole it, and it's on her bedside table because it's so good. This is the basic base one, which is fantastic. It's heavy. It's mag-safe. And the other thing I want to point out, and you can get these standalone, the Nomad's incredible cables. Nomad, these guys are obsessive with the details. They were tired of dealing with flimsy charging cables. And you've dealt with them that fall apart every few months. So they set out to engineer some of the most rugged cables around. Reinforced with double-braided Kevlar outer sheath and strong metal alloy connector housing, Nomad cables have been engineered for extreme durability and heavy everyday use. There's the Base 1 Max, by the way, which Lisa has. They also offer it, I believe, a special edition in gold. A climate-neutral certified brand, so you can feel good about buying it. Wireless chargers. Take a look at their wallets and their passport holders, also with Horween leather. And those leather accessories smell great, and they develop this beautiful patina that makes it uniquely yours over time. Look at this Kevlar outer sheath. I only get Nomad cables now. They're the best. Nomad is and always will be a company that prioritizes design and quality over everything else. One of the most important aspects to Nomad when designing new products, they use the highest quality, longest lasting materials available. You could tell when you feel this base one, it's heavy. This is going to sit on your bedside table, and it's not going anywhere. It's solid. It feels like a beautiful thing. All of their concepts are designed by Nomad from the ground up. They don't white label other people's products. I think you're just going to love it. Go to nomadgoods.com/MacBreak. Right now, use the promo code MacBreak for 10% off your first purchase. Actually, maybe wait till tomorrow. I love these GAN adapters, too. They offer really good. The 65 watts back in stock. MacBreak, the offer code, 10% off any Nomad accessory. Nomadgoods.com/MacBreak. The promo code, again, is MacBreak. This is a limited time offer, but I'm thinking you can wait till tomorrow. I don't know how long it'll take them to get stuff specific to the new watch, if the new watch has new bands, or specific to the new iPhone. But certainly keep an eye out. Nomadgoods.com/MacBreak. Promo code is MacBreak. We think you'll be able to order Friday, right? That's the odds-on line from the bookies in the UK. Friday will be the ordering day. I'm joking. It's again Mark Gurman. So you can get up early Friday, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. What do they do right now?
Well, it's 5 a.m. and then you have to. There's the banging and it not working. Like the site still doesn't work. Like it. So you got to give yourself a solid 35 minutes to order.
I always use the Apple Store app. That seems to work a little better.
Oh, really?
Is that apocryphal?
I use the web page.
Okay, let's be fair. I have 3 systems with all 3 of them loading the web page. I have an iPad loading the store. I have an iPhone loading the store, and I just, hit them again and again, which is one of the reasons they go down, because everybody's doing that, right?
It's funny. We talk about that when we talk about fixing problems when you're dealing with customers, because like I work on live events, and one of the problems you have is I keep on telling people with the interface, I'm like, it's not how 10,000 people coming through because they're like, oh, we'll just build an AWS thing and we'll just have people log in all at the same time. It's automated. And I'm like, that's not the problem. The problem is if the button doesn't work for like a second, people will just start hitting it 20 times, trying to get it to go. And then so that's a behavior that the computer doesn't think about. It thinks I click on it and then I wait. It doesn't think I click on it. It doesn't react in 0.2 seconds. And so now I will just tap on it until something happens. And so, that's the problem with their website. But the problem that I've had is that the order won't complete. So I get in, I order whatever I'm ordering at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then when I hit order, it just freezes, and then it goes, no, we couldn't do that.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that.
Wasted all that time.
I hate that. And also with a phone, you might load up Verizon, T-Mobile's, AT&T, whoever your carrier is. And those are the ones that really do that to me the most, where they go, I don't even bother with them. I give up. I can't understand why.
Buy the phone.
Wait and go to the store. How about that? Is that a reasonable option?
You'll get it sometime in November.
No, that is you're right about the Apple Store app. At least historically, there was something about like the pathway it was using, the API it was hitting. It was not going through the same thing as the web store, and so that it was more reliable because the web store was getting swamped. But there was a different path for the app. I don't know if that's still the case. Apple seems to have done a better job of getting everything to sort of stabilize when you order than it was a few years ago. But yeah, if you don't get your order in, I'm telling you, the pro tip, the secret tip is they reserve stock at retail for launch day and in successive days. So if you go on the website at any point and it says it's going to be 3 weeks before you get it, and keeping in mind you can cancel your order, so you can make an order out 3 weeks and cancel it if you can't get it in the meantime. But go by your local stores or see if you can make an in-store pickup order. Like, there are pathways into the secret reserve stash because they don't want the Apple stores to be sold out. They want people to be able to go in Apple stores and say, hey, do you have the new iPhone? And have them say yes. And as a result, they will reserve stock and distribute it to stores. So retail store is a great fallback. The hard part
is it only the base model though? Is it or
No, they will do different configurations. It's usually sort of the most popular configurations. You don't get to custom configure it, but there are more than just the base models for sure at retail.
I think my problem is that my version of the phone is always turn all the dials up to the top thing and then buy that phone. And I can't get
they won't have that one.
That's not going to be there. But they will have the top of the bell curve, right? The most popular models will be there, and they also know they will lean a little bit toward extra features because they'll know that if it's like, well, I know you wanted this storage, but I have the next level up for $100 more, clever. And then you buy that one, right? Yeah. So they'll lean in that direction.
Should I now look at my existing usage on my iPhone to determine how much storage I should have in the new iPhone? This would be a good time to look at that? Yes or no?
That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do is I look at, I actually went down a step the last time I bought my iPhone because I realized that I was nowhere near even down one step in terms of actual storage on the device.
I have 129.7 gigabytes of 512 used. I wasted money on this phone, and I've had this for 2 years. So maybe 256. That's another rumor, is that they're going to start at 256. So the base model may actually have enough storage for you. That's the only choice. That and the color, right? You don't have a lot of other choices if you're going to buy. You have the choice between iPhone Plus, iPhone Pro Max, but in that given line, it's color and storage. Yes?
Yep. Yeah.
So you could, most people, I think 256 gigs is a good place for most people. Yes?
I agree.
If you're looking at mine's pretty low right now, but it also has to do with the fact that I put things on it and then take them off because it's too big. So if you're shooting ProRes with your camera, you fill it up really fast.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you this, Alex.
All the memory.
We were all excited a year ago about cinematic mode, thinking, oh man, I'm going to be shooting a lot of ProRes cinematic mode. Did you?
I shot ProRes, absolutely, not cinematic. It still does things that I don't expect it to do. So I played with cinematic, and I was like,
that's the racked focus thing that they had those great ads.
It does rack focus, and what it does is it looks a little further out, and it can kind of guess what is coming through, and it can make the decisions. It just didn't make the decisions the way I would make the decision.
Not for a pro.
And so I use that camera so much. I shoot so much footage, and
video.
And so many.
You shoot a lot of video.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
a lot of video, and I, it's just it's a pretty great. I mean, it's a pretty great camera. I mean, I'm kind of amazed. At this point, I just look at it. I look at the phone as a camera that can do phone calls sometimes.
Right.
Like it's and I think that I'll be really interested to see.
This will be even more so, right?
Low light. The big things that make a difference for me at this point are low light and resolution. And so, and chip size, they could make that bump on the back about as big as they wanted it, and I'd still probably just go, okay, that sounds good, as long as I get better pictures.
If they are going to get the new super megapixel sensor, we don't know if they're going to bin it down to 12 megapixels or keep it at, 48? But will photos be larger? Yes, right? Or no?
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell. And will they be better? I mean, the problem is that if you go to 48 megapixel from 12 megapixel and you don't make a significant chip size change, the issue that you end up with is
quality is not improved.
The sensor sites are just smaller, and it means that there's higher errata, which means now, can they get over some of that with computational photography? Maybe. But, it's still, what I do find is that the real thing is the real thing at times.
The argument for binning, though, is strong, right? You shoot 48 pixels, and then you bin it down to 12.
It's actually what they were trying to do with that deep fusion mode, where they were taking multiple exposures
and then sweater mode.
The sweater mode. And they were trying to compare all the pixels. Well, imagine if you could take them all at once and then do the computation.
I bet that's what they're going to do, right?
Yeah, and you'll end up with something that might be bigger file size-wise, but is more akin to a really good 12 megapixel image rather than a full-on 48 megapixel image.
You think of it not as they're cheating by taking 4 pixels and turning it to 1. Think of it as each sensor pixel being 4 times bigger than it would normally be. So it's taking in more light, it's taking in more data. There's more stuff that they could accrue from that. It's just a big, big deal all the way around. To say nothing of what you do with it if you, we talked about this last week, that if Apple decides to do something clever, saying, well, what if when we're shooting just plain HD or even 4K video, but unbeknownst to the user, we're actually taking a chunk out of that sensor and we're moving it around to sort of make sure that a subject is centered, even when you're not keeping up with your little kid, or in my case, a squirrel. There's a lot of cool things that Apple or Google or anybody who is very, very computationally hip could do with that.
All right, so there is the good news, and I like it, and I hope they do this, is you will watch the presentation tomorrow, have 3 days to think about it before you order. And that's one of the questions you might be asking is, well, how big is the file size going to be? Are they going to bin? Probably. Is it going to be much larger than a pure 12 megapixel? Probably slightly. How much bigger, Alex, would it be? Not that much bigger.
I mean, it's just hard to tell. I mean, I think that, again,
they never say, they're not going to say, well, get ready because your stills are going to be 12.8 megabytes. They're not going to.
But you have the storage there to put more there. So it'd be nice for them to go ahead and go to a higher resolution. Again, if they have the data to
as a choice. But
a lot of times we see people go, oh, it's 48 megapixels, something's really big, and they didn't make the chip any bigger to take that into account. And you go, well, it's kind of there.
So one of the things I do,
because grain is a real issue. Grain is more important.
Grain is more important, right? One of the things I do that might mean that 256 is right for me also is I do everything. By the way, I now use iPhotos as my DAM. So when I take a picture, even with my Sony A7R4 or with my Leica Q2, I upload it to iPhotos or Photos. I call it iPhotos so you know what I'm talking about. I upload it to iPhotos and let them store the originals on iCloud. And then I do iCloud photo storage on the devices. So the devices aren't getting big, but I do have a very large library in the cloud. I know it maybe is more expensive, but I'm buying the Apple One subscription. So
you get 2 terabytes with Apple One.
Lots of storage.
Yeah.
That seems sensible. Mm-hmm. And now that means I don't have to buy more than 256 gigs. Even if it works with video too, right?
If you're going to shoot, if you're going to shoot it, if you decide, I'm going to do a movie.
Well, if I'm going to do a 2-hour movie, I need a bigger phone.
Or even just, it doesn't take very long at 422 HQ. It doesn't take very long to fill that up. So it's
so you're going to get 2 terabytes on your phone.
Yeah.
I always think if you're close, Leo, if you're close to 256, you might want to consider 512 just because you never know.
Oh, it's horrible to run out
in that situation. My daughter got we got her one step too little, and she has had to deal with deleting stuff for the last few years, and I feel bad about it now. So like what I always do is sort of like look, and if I'm anywhere near the line, I will get the next one up. But it does mean you get the 512 instead of the 1 terabyte, and you save yourself some money.
Well, I'm thinking 256 is going to be enough because I'm only using 130. I have 100 gigabytes. I have 100 gigabytes of music on here. I have the max Audible will allow on this, which is 20 gigabytes of books.
Yeah.
11 gigabytes of photos. I mean,
if you're using cloud stuff, the need for all that active storage goes away. Unless you're unless you're aspiring to backpack in the wilderness and you need to download some music to bring with you. Well, otherwise you're okay.
100 gigabytes of music is a lot of music. I don't need to. I'm not going to run out of music.
Huge.
Yeah.
Also, the times you are totally in the weeds when you need another 30 gigabytes of storage but you don't have it. That's to me the cheapest money I spend is upgrading to the most storage I can possibly get.
Okay, all right.
I mean, I was tempted when I bought my Pixel 6 Pro last year. I was really tempted to go back to iPhone because I love iPhones too. But one of the things that really made the decision for me was that for the same amount of money I could get 512 gigs of storage instead of 256. And to me personally, not for everybody, I thought that the two devices were close enough in what I would want to do with them that was going to be one of the deciding factors. I'd never regret having more storage on a phone.
You're trying to talk me out of it, but this all goes back to of going in and getting the base model. And if the base model is 256, I'm golden. We are all Pro Max buyers, though. We are not sitting here. Well, you want a mini. I know, Jason. You're a weirdo.
Oh, well.
I'll
survive.
Not given that you can't get a phone as small as your hands, you're going to get a Pro Max probably, right?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to buy in this cycle, but I'll be
okay.
But as a product, because I just bought a 13 mini, but as a product reviewer, I will tell you that's code. As a product reviewer, I'm most interested in the new Pro phone because I think that's where we're going to get the new chip and that's where we're going to get the new camera. And I'm really interested in that. And yeah, coming from the mini, I don't even have like the ProMotion display or anything like that on top of it. So that's the one that I'm planning on spending the most time with of the four. Because
when you're spending your money, you're going to buy something a little less. And I think this is probably in a year. And you know what? I skipped last year, so I get to buy this year. But I think that real people don't buy every year unless they have. Apple still offers. In fact, there's a rumor they're considering this for all their hardware, a subscription plan that gives you a yearly replacement. Yeah. The rumor, which I kind of am interested in, is they might do it for Macs as well.
Yeah. I think that if you have a family, then you have an excuse to buy one every year.
Yeah, because I have hand-me-downs. Yeah,
there's like
hand-me-downs.
a big train.
Yeah.
moves.
So Lisa, who has the 13, will get the 14. Her 13 will go to her son. Her son's 12 will go to her ex-husband. I don't know what her ex-husband does with his phones. Oh, no, wait a minute. I think we get it back. And then we give it to some poor employee. No, we sell it on Swap or Gazelle or somewhere. Does Apple give the best trade-ins, by the way? Is it better to go to...
No. Their trade-ins are terrible.
Terrible.
It's just like trading in your car at the dealer when you buy a new car.
Yeah.
It is there for expediency's sake, but it's never going to be your best deal. It's super easy. There's that for it. I mean,
do you ever sell old gear?
Yeah, occasionally. And I mean, you either use one of the web services, or you find somebody, or you using.
Don't do eBay, right? You wouldn't do it yourself.
I would. I think that there are iPhone buyers closer to home. In my case, I'm mostly just handing them down. But I sold an iMac on Craigslist, where there's $100 bills being transacted at a Starbucks.
That's brave.
It's not my favorite.
No.
Yeah. Oh man, that was high stress. But,
scary. Yeah.
But there are services out there that will give you a better deal than Apple. The thing is, it is awfully convenient for Apple to just say, we will take your old thing, but you can always find a better deal than Apple.
Dwindle in our chat room says, I got $920 for my iPhone 12 Pro Max, trading in for the iPhone 13 on launch day. That's a pretty good deal from Apple.
It's fine.
Sometimes launch day, I know Samsung's that way on launch day. Samsung, you could almost get a free flip phone if you did it on launch day, if you had the old flip phone. Just replace it. Go ahead, Andy.
But you have to be careful that they'll give you an estimate. They'll give you an estimate online, and then you send it back, and then they might say, "Oh, well, we know we gave you an estimate of $450, but $50, I think we saw a scratch near the charging port, and now you have to figure out, do I want to do all the stuff again?
Bring it to the store, do it in person, and you'll know if it's worth it, right? Because I dropped this. There's some rug burn, I'm going to call it. They might use that as an excuse not to give me the full price. So yeah.
I have a bunch of friends who are on the subscription plan, though, the Apple product, the iPhone.
Yeah, is that a good idea?
Plan.
Maybe I should do that this year.
A lot of people, if you like getting a new phone every year, I mean, keep in mind you're renting the phone, and so what you don't get is the ability to hand it down, because you literally, after a year, you give them your phone back and they give you a new one, and you never have that, and then they put it in their, refurbished chain instead, and it's a good deal for Apple too. But seriously, if you get a new iPhone every year, you should look into that program, because that program is it's actually a pretty decent deal.
There's no, they don't charge a VIG really. It's just, right? It's pretty close to what it would cost if you just amortized it over 12 months.
Yeah.
The only negative is you better not mess up your phone, because then you're in trouble. Right, to a certain degree, yeah. If you smashy, you're gonna have to get that fixed or something like that. But it's and again, it's one of those things that, like, if you put in more effort to sell that somewhere else and buy a new one, would you come out a few dollars to your ahead? Probably true. Probably you would, but it's way more convenient to just say, "Hey, Apple, I know exactly how much I'm paying you, and I know what I get, and in a year I know I get a new phone, and I still know what I'm paying you." That's a pretty good peace of mind kind of deal. Would you do that for a Mac? You're a bad example, because you get loaners, you get review units, you're not buying.
I also have to buy. Back when I worked at Macworld, right, we had a pool. We would buy so many units to test, and then we would roll those down to people. So I'd always get like a good MacBook Air, because we had to test that model. As a self-proprietor, I don't buy every model. So it's a little bit. So I guess the answer would be, what's your buying cycle? And the problem with the Mac is the buying cycle is different, and the upgrade cycle is different. Like, so would I subscribe to always have the latest and greatest MacBook Air? I don't know, maybe, but those cycles aren't as clearly defined as something like an iPhone that comes every year. If I knew there was a new MacBook Air every 2 years, and that I could pay Apple and know that in 2 years I just get the new one and keep paying, I would consider it. But I wonder if our iPhones or if our Macs and iPads really work like that. The phones a little more so, but I'm not sure. That
you don't want a new Mac every year, really.
Right.
Most of the time.
Even if it was 2 years, I'm not sure I would want it. Every 2 years. I'm not sure that would be necessary.
And you don't know if you really want that update cycle. Like, it's like 1 year I might buy a bunch of Macs. I have recently, but I don't know if I need them every year.
Right.
Like, I may go, well, these will go for the next 4 or 5 years. But I bought in the last year. I probably bought, I don't know, 6 or 7.
Right.
But they're mostly Mac Minis. Like, that's what I buy.
We won't see any Mac announcements tomorrow.
No.
All signs point to October for an iPad Mac event. So keep it going.
This is Magic
Hope it's
8
not on my
Snell.
birthday.
It's the Magic 8 Snell. Wouldn't it be funny if they did it on October 6th, the same day?
No, God, no. They gotta all stand up and sing happy birthday if they have it on my birthday, but they generally don't. They generally avoid conflicting with other tech companies' events.
I thought they said that you were going to say that they generally avoid your birthday. You're like, well, Jason's birthday is today.
Well, they should. It's a holy day, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
You stay away from that. Maybe the 11th. Try the 11th. That's a good day.
Exactly.
18th is nice. Lots of good October Tuesdays out there.
Exactly.
It's risky, actually. Well, it's a Thursday this year, so
my birthday's a Thursday, but Apple does their events on Tuesdays.
Oh,
right? So
okay. I'm just checking. Right. Just checking.
Dodged a bullet there.
Whew. So 4th, 11th, 18th, or 25th, those are the days available. Do you want it to be too close to Halloween? I'm going to guess like the 18th to give them time to breathe after this one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You wonder if part of that is conditional on how well the next version of macOS is coming on? Because how long is it going to take them to wrap things up, and do they think that they're going to need an extra week or two? I would be very surprised if they didn't hold it in October, but I wonder if they're letting that float for a while as they figure out how long is it going to take to lock down the stuff that we have already at this point we've committed as the final punch list for the release.
Yeah.
I think that's a great question, and I think it's possible, although I suspect that what the gating factor is for these Mac events is hardware availability, right? Like, do they have enough of them in the pipeline that they can actually put them for sale and actually have units to deliver instead of it being instantly back ordered? The other trick, and Andy knows this too, is that they often will deem something as the golden master and they'll ship that as the official version. And by the time it reaches people, there's already a software update. And that allows them to kind of like moderate that a little bit, where it ships with something that's probably buggy, but as long as it can run the software update, it'll be okay, because then because they have to put it on the hard drives when they're manufacturing them, and then there's several weeks span, and then they reach customers on launch day, and they can have that backfill software update in there too. But it is, I mean, if they're really uneasy about the state of the OS and the state of the supply chain, it's very easy for them to just keep pushing their internal date later and later in the year.
It's going to be an interesting launch too, because there are still some parts. There's still some parts of the Mac line that they have not updated for Apple Silicon yet, and they have promised that by the end of the year they will have updated the entire line. I mean, they can get out of it, and they can get out of it the other ways. And in addition to that, there are a lot of people, like Alex, like myself, who, if there's going to be an updated Mac Mini, this is the one that we've been waiting for, and are going to be really, really hot to be there like for the very, very first the second that the store is open, to make sure we get exactly the configuration we want without having to wait 3 or 4 months. So I do think there's a lot riding on the line of this Mac announcement.
Like the Mac Mini.
Like a Mac Mini. like a Mac Pro. Yeah.
Like a Mac Mini. I mean, like the Mac Pro's good, but
yeah, it's very important. I guess the real thing is that they can. The world doesn't change, other than your impatience, if they do it a little later in October or a little earlier in October. And that determination, I feel like, is going to come by. Somebody has got a spreadsheet of exactly how many they can make and ship from the factories by a certain date, and then they pick their date. But who knows? I mean, right now, both the OS and the supply chain are up in the air, so it could really be anything.
I think that the thing that's so exciting about the Mac Mini, and we'll be excited about the Pro and the Studio and everything else, is that the power of it, for the developers that are writing to the OS as prescribed by Apple, the performance coming out of the M1s just keeps getting better. I mean, we're doing a bunch of tests internally, and you just see these, just tons of 1080p streams and 4K streams coming out of one Mac.
Why is it getting better?
Well, because one of the things I was talking to actually Andy Carlucci about this. He's an engineer, and what's happening is that they're the operating system is getting you out of the way. So if you don't do anything to the frame, if you say I have something coming in and I want to send it out, the operating system will do all that work for you, and it makes it super efficient. And so you're able to, if you follow the rules that Apple's giving you, Apple is really building it to be super high performance. And what really catches developers is they're trying to roll their own version of something. They're like, I want to make this cross-platform, so I don't want the code to be any different. And the most astute developers right now they're saying, hey, we've got cross-platform. We're going to write to the Windows Metal the way that it should be written, and we're going to write everything native to the Mac. And the performance they're getting when they do that, when they go to a fully native solution, is just outrageous. And the kind of performance that we're seeing out of the Mini in the Studio when we're doing tests is, I mean, astounding. Like the density of data that's coming out of it, I can't believe that I can do that on a $600 computer or $700 computer.
So you don't feel any drive to go to M2 particularly?
Well, I just think the M2 will be even better.
Oh,
I'll just do more. Okay. I mean, like I can probably get into density numbers about what we're seeing next week. Next Tuesday, there's a big video show in Europe we'll talk about density numbers. But the numbers are astounding, and even with an M1 with a $700 computer, it's pretty amazing. So,
and the prospect floating out there for the last 2 years of the high-end Mac Mini, which is still technically an Intel Mac Mini, being an M2 Pro instead of an M2 is really big, right? Because that unlocks a lot of power that base model doesn't. Yeah. And that's why that Intel Mac Mini is still sitting there.
Yeah. I mean, for the big thing at the studio is that I don't have the Ultra, but the big thing is having those chips, the dedicated ProRes chips, the dedicated H.dot chips.
That even the M2
changes.
base will have. Yeah.
Those dedicated processors just make such a massive difference in just taking a workload off of it and allowing to do some incredible work. I mean, and I don't. Right now, I think that from the tests that I've been doing with the M1, we can't even find a PC at the same price point that's going to go anywhere close to it. Like as far as just sheer AV performance. And so when people say, "Well, we're writing for both the Mac and the PC," I'm like, "For how long? Like for how long?" Because I don't understand. I don't think that. I mean, it's dedicated chipsets, dedicated hardware, dedicated to make AV run through this.
Don't the really NVIDIA GPUs?
Yeah, no, I'm saying you can definitely build a PC that's super high performance.
Yeah.
It's just that it's like
they still surpass anything Apple's doing, right?
Well, when the Pro comes out, I think it's going to be pretty complicated in that area. The problem is that what I'm saying is that for you could do an awful lot of production work on a Mac Mini right now, and you can definitely. I have a studio sitting right here in front of me, and it's all I need for what I'm doing.
Isn't that amazing?
And I do a lot.
Is that because of the dedicated playback? The dedicated playback circuitry.
It's playback. It's processing. There's so much in the OS that's already built to do do the video for you, do the audio for you.
Apple Silicon has specific silicon dedicated to video, right?
Yeah.
Is that the difference?
Oh, it's part of it. Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that the GPU and the CPU are working together, they're not.
And
not
does unified memory also
you have to figure out?
Yeah,
and they're able to just scale up.
It's all on die.
And it's really they've really pulled away. And again, in some places, I think that there's definitely. I mean, there are things that I want to do where we do really complicated things where we've got 4 NVIDIA top of the end, like $5,000 a card. We got 4 of those in one PC. I can't do that kind of work on the Mac yet, but it's a pretty specialized niche, and like that, there's like 100 of those in the world, and so for what we do, and so the thing is that, and if I'm mining, no one's found that the M1 is great for Bitcoin mining or Ethereum mining. It's not. But they just haven't. I think that they just haven't written to the chipset yet. So.
Okay, I don't know how we got talking about the Mac. Oh, I guess because we were just wondering. October. So,
how much money do we still have to have left in October?
That's it. It's a budget calculation, of course.
I know that's the big problem. Is that when I look at the Pro, I go, I just don't know if I can afford the Pro. Like that's my big problem. Is I don't know if I'll be able to afford what I want to buy.
I probably shouldn't do this, but how much do you think you're going to spend tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Friday?
I'm going to guess 20. I can tell you what I set aside. My last one cost $2,000. Like this one's $2,000 phone, which is why it sits in a case with a screen protector on it.
This is the most pricey object in your collection.
My current car is not worth this much money. So anyway, it's not that I spend a lot of money. It's just that I have priorities, and my phone is a way higher priority than my car. So anyway, this one was $2,000. I've set aside, saved up. I've literally been saving for a while. There's $2,500 that's just sitting there going, I'm not going to think about it. That's
for the
price.
phone. Are you going to get a watch too?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if it has enough performance things, I've only updated a couple times on the watch.
Yeah.
So if it has something that I have to admit the body temperature kind of interests me more from a.
That's the one new feature that everybody's saying.
I'm curious. I'm just curious, like what it would show, and I do find some of the data I get back from the phone enjoyable. Right. But it would have to be. Maybe the body temperature thing might be enough, but probably not. And it would have to be a lot of things.
How about new AirPods? AirPods, supposedly, there's some rumor. We know that, or we think that Google is going to start updating its Bluetooth LE to use this new codec. And there's a rumor that Apple might do the same with new AirPods.
I have to admit, I don't use my AirPods very much.
I don't like
anymore.
AirPods.
I'm excited.
Okay, there we go.
I'm an AirPods Pro guy.
He's an AirPods Pro guy. Okay.
I'll jump in there. I am very excited about a new set, especially if there's potentially higher quality, right? The idea that there's going to be the higher quality streaming. I'm a lot less concerned about that, but the idea of new wireless protocols that allow better battery life sign me up for that. Like if you can extend the battery life of these things with a less energy intensive protocol talking to the iPhone, then I'm all down for that.
So there's a filing in the Bluetooth SIG products database that seems to indicate Apple will be doing 5.2 support. Perhaps an AirPods Pro with LE audio support. That would be kind of interesting. There aren't a lot of headphones that'll do that.
The big thing for me is if they can just get it to, like, the phone that I'm holding that I have it paired to, I would really like it to stay paired. Like, that's the biggest problem.
I know, honestly, that's the biggest one.
Like literally, I don't need them to make the audio better.
Yeah, no, they're too smart.
I need them to stop pairing. Just, I have a lot of Apple devices. I have multiple phones. I've got an iPad. I've got a bunch of computers. And it used to be like I would just pick it up and it would work, you know, and that was amazing because even now with Bluetooth, with other Bluetooth headsets, I have a lot of headsets, but with other Bluetooth headsets, it's always like, okay, how am I going to get this to talk to this and everything else? And I get super frustrated by the fact that that's what stopped me from, you know, it kind of like broke the magic for me was the pairing, was that it was constantly not pairing. Like I couldn't figure out how to get it to pair to the only thing around it. I'd be on the car, suddenly it's like not pairing, and it's not showing up as something. Then I reset it, and then it says there's headphones here, but they're not yours.
I know, it drives me nuts. I agree.
So that's the more than anything around audio quality. It's just let me choose which one let me build a hierarchy of what I want it to pair to, and then have it go through that. And if I'm holding the one at the top of the hierarchy, ignore everything else and just talk to that one. Like, especially if I'm in a phone call, it'd be really nice if you didn't just go somewhere else. You know, that would be great.
The idea that you could have Bluetooth headphones that are connected to multiple devices at once and then can arbitrate between them
seemed like a good idea at the time.
Well, no, but this is the rumor is that one of the features of this new radio is going to be, and this new protocol is that the headphones can be connected to multiple devices.
That would solve it.
Yeah.
And then decide which one it wants to listen to, or by activity on a device, it would play into that device. Right. And if that's true, that will dramatically improve the life of anybody who uses AirPods, because it kills me when, you know, it doesn't, like I'm listening on my Apple Watch and it wants to talk to my iPhone, or I'm listening on my iPad and it wants to talk to my iPhone. And so that one, Mark Gurman mentioned in his newsletter as a possibility. And it's like, now that's the kind of feature where we look back in 5 years and say, I cannot believe we survived having to connect our headphones to one device at a time.
Is that part would be that the new H chip? There is a rumor new generation H. What is it? The H3 this time in the AirPods. Maybe that would be one of the features of it. This is the chip that Apple made because they thought Bluetooth sucked, and they could do a better job.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope so. I don't know whether it's that or whether it's actually part of the new Bluetooth spec or not, but it would not surprise me if that was definitely a feature where Apple...
that.
Apple knows how bad that user interface is, right? Where it's like, where is my device? Or your Mac says, I'd like to take over your AirPods now. And it's like, no, don't do it. So they know it, but like, how do you implement that? And is there a way to do that in a standard that they're going to come up with? You know, there's a new Bluetooth standard that'll let them do it, or do they do their own little secret sauce where they're doing their other thing? But they got to know that that's a huge pain point for those devices.
They absolutely need to fix that. If I had to choose between a defect that causes something to not work flat out or something to almost work, I will take it not working every single time. Nothing gets me into a state of anti-tech rage as when I find myself shouting at like a Bluetooth thing, do nothing. All I'm asking you to do is don't make any choices. Just whatever I tell you to do that thing and don't change it. And that's, oh boy, that's what turns like a phone into a projectile and a hole in my wall like really quickly.
Will there be one more thing?
I think they're done with one more thing.
I don't think they do that anymore. Yeah. Okay.
I think the one more thing would be if they add in the VR headset at some point and they have that as
will they mention it?
Fake, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
I think the only time I think every year we know at WWDC this is the year or it's not the year, but I don't think that I think that the time to show an AR headset is going to be at WWDC. Like it is. Yeah, that's the place, because you want to say, hey, and now we're releasing a developer version for $3,000 or whatever, and let everyone spend the summer playing with it.
That's when we'll see Reality OS and people can develop for it.
Exactly, because you want to give the developers to launch. You want to give the developers time, to make sure that you've got great products. Now, they've probably given a lot of people some time. So
my counter to that would be the Apple Watch launch, right? Where they did that standalone and because it was a brand new product, they said in September, isn't this great? See you in April when we launch this thing. And the developers had that amount of time. And I think that's a more likely, I mean, when you look at Gurman's reports, he feels very strongly, and a bunch of other reports kind of say that it's probably an early next year thing. But I think that's it, Alex, which is they'll announce it maybe early next year, but I don't think it's going to ship early next year. I think it's going to ship months later, where if there's not a developer conference, at least there are going to be months where developers are going to be able to look at Reality OS, and depending on how they build it, maybe even attach like an existing commercial headset to a Mac to do some debugging and stuff. But that seems like a more likely scenario to me.
And you can do that now.
I think it's going to follow the same path as previous times where they've come out of the gate with a device they never made before. One of the things that affects it is that they have to file it. They have to do an FCC public filing at some point, and that's going to happen way before they're ready to start marketing it or start platforming it at all. So I think that we're going to see something similar to that. Like in January, there'll be an announcement in which they will show it off, and that'll be concurrent with when they do the FCC filing, and then that will also be when they start laying months worth of groundwork on here is what to expect from this. Don't expect more from this or something else from this than what we're actually telling you to do. And that's also the time when they'll start seeding a couple of developers, so that when they do launch a developer edition at WWDC, conceivably, they won't just simply say, well, here it is, ain't it a beaut, and we got the straps in different colors. They'll be able to say, and we're very, very pleased with our friends at blah 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 who have something to show us on what they can do with gaming or what they can do with architecture with it, and hopefully something better than what they did at the watch launch of, hey, look, I can actually open and close my garage for my watch and actually see video from it, but actually show you, here is why we needed to make this, here is why we are emphatic and we know what we're doing, and this is something that is very, very Apple and important for us to make.
Well, tomorrow's the day. Jason and Micah Sargent will be at the event tomorrow. I look forward to hearing reports from both of you. Of course, we'll watch sixcolors.com for your file. You're not going to live blog it. You don't. Not going to live blog.
I'll do some tweets so people can follow me at Jay Snell, and I'll do some commentary there while we go, and then after the event's over, shortly thereafter, I'm going to do a live stream of Upgrade with Mike Hurley, where I'll report in from from Cupertino. We'll do that live there.
Cool.
And then I'll be writing endlessly afterward for the rest of the year.
Relay.fm
right?
for those reports.
Yeah.
I remember very well the days when we would sit outside an event in lawn chairs and to do shows. Alex, what is Office Hours planning tomorrow?
We're all getting together. So we'll do what we basically do is in the morning, we'll talk about what we think is going to, kind of like this show, except there'll be a whole bunch of us all talking about like what do we think is going to happen and what we should be looking for. Now for us, the event is, because we do production, the event is about, we'll spend as much time talking about how they're going to produce it and what they're doing.
Actually,
camera usage.
I'd love to.
It's way.
Will you tell us straight? Look at this here. Can you believe they're doing that lower 30s
here? And oh yeah, totally.
But I bet you Apple's pretty A+, right? I mean, they're going to be the best.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I feel like I think that I do feel like peak keynote was last December. The last one, the last couple have gone.
Was that the one where they went out in the into California?
They were jumping from one location. And
I thought that was going to be the new thing, and that
I did too.
And
it feels like they're going backwards. It feels like they're going to get ready to go back to the stage.
Was it too expensive? Do you think Luca Maestri said you can't do that anymore? No more.
No, I don't think they, especially for this, I don't think that money's really the issue. I think that the issue really is
it detracts.
Do they want to do something on a stage? You know, and getting people used to getting ready to do a stage. I think eventually.
You think they want to go back to live?
Well, I think that at this point, I have no idea. I'm not connected to that team now, but I think that there's probably like at least intros. I don't know if they could ever go back to the live events that we saw in the past because they're so slow. They're just so slow to watch, and so painful, and they're so hard to do. Like if I worked on hundreds, maybe thousands of keynotes for different companies. And the amount of labor it goes into getting something right live, and then the amount of risk that you have to doing it is so high that I think everyone's kind of like, the videos are pretty nice, and so I think that being able to say, hey, we have this new thing, we're really excited for about a minute, let's go to the video. And then you go to a video and everyone describes it, I think is a way better solution than, and to me as a viewer, as a reviewer, I mean, and Jason can let us know and Andy can let us know what this is like. I want to touch the hardware, so I'm going to go there so that I can talk to people and look at the hardware and everything else. What they do on the stage, when secondary. I used to do this, it kind of doesn't matter.
It's an infomercial.
I don't care. And
absolutely.
And so the thing is, they can do whatever they want. They can just play a video on the stage for an hour and a half, and I'll watch it, and I'll have some ideas of what that looks like. Then I'm going to go out and work, actually touch the hardware and try to use it.
It's a scant outline of the things you really want to know.
Yeah.
The questions you really want to ask. They're not going to say LC3 codec.
Yeah, so I don't need them to. And the thing is that I think most of us know that a lot of times what's presented is not like, sometimes it's not actually working code, or it doesn't work that way for everybody.
Right.
And so there's a whole lot, like for a long time, there was the cable that went into the phone so that you could see it, because there was no way to do that. It was like a thing that only worked on the stage.
Yeah.
So so those are all kinds of things so it's not, the stage event is not really real anyway. And it was made popular because Steve was so good at it. So keynotes became a thing. There was a time when keynotes weren't that big of a deal.
Steve really made it, put it on the map.
Into something.
Yeah.
But no one's,
and you don't have a
Steve
Steve now. Yeah.
No one's Steve. There's people that are
I think
close.
Steve probably liked the high wire act, liked the idea that it could crash and fail.
I think so, but also that was an era where we weren't streaming it live, and so then the show really then it was more like a theater presentation, and we were the theater critics or whatever, right? They were literally doing it for us so that we could then go report and disseminate that out to everybody, and that changed a long time ago now, where everybody sees it. So making it an infomercial and realizing that 99.99%, lots of nines, of the people who are paying attention to that thing are not in that audience, and that all we're really there for is the other thing, which is to see it ourselves, and keeping them separate, I think, is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
Why did they change that? Why did they start streaming it? Was that after Steve?
No, they streamed some of Steve's too. Yeah.
I think because some people walked in with their laptops and started streaming it. I don't know who that was.
I was a rebel without a cause.
And the live blogs and all that. I mean, that became it became the issue where they didn't want to do it live. They wanted the reports afterward. The world insisted that it be live, and Apple said, "Well, if it's going to be live, it's going to be our version of reality, not yours."
Right.
And here we are.
I think, because I think there was a concern for a long time that, a lot of companies were concerned with keynotes that if we stream it live, it means the press won't come. They won't cover it. They won't, because the news is already out, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of different companies that had this concern.
Apple doesn't have that problem.
But they don't have it now. But, there was a time when, Apple wasn't as popular and not everyone was, trying to pay attention to everything that they said. But we're past that now. And the thing is that I think that the real value, again, for reviewers is typically the time after the keynote that's there is why they're there. It's why they came in. And so whatever you do on there. And I think that, again, as a viewer, I just want it to be a great show. Like, I don't need it to, I don't need it to go slow. And when they do there's a whole bunch of interstitials in there where they talk about, I don't know, finances and green things.
Who cares about that?
All kinds of other stuff. And that's just the time for us to take notes and talk about things.
Right. Pause. I think you nailed it, Jason, when you said it's the difference between a theater performance and a movie. And there is something to be said for a theater performance, but it's a very small, special audience. And Apple's a much bigger company and has a much larger audience.
I think that's especially appropriate because I think that over the years, Apple has desired and achieved the goal of making this communication a lot more one way than it once was.
Yep.
That it's not as though they would say, it's not as though at the old hands-on area they would say, oh, by the way, here are some engineers who worked on XYZ. They will answer any question that you want, and if you ask them a question they can't answer, they will get back to you. It's not that it was that intense, but you could find the people who could answer questions that are off script. nowadays, I think the value of being there in person is a lot less at an Apple event than it used to be, because they really want that to be a one-way communication where we are telling you what we want to tell you.
The agenda.
We're telling you what we want you to tell other people, and it really is on you to have those contacts of people who are probably not supposed to talk to you, but certainly will answer a text message. Not text message, but they will talk to you via Signal if you phrase it in the right way and you've been a good person in the past. And that's something that people absolutely need to be aware of as they're seeing the flood of videos that are going to be coming on in the weeks that come.
The only thing they can't control is our reaction to the physical product. And I mean, they can control it by keeping it out of our hands, but that is not a place that they seem willing to go, right? Like, so in the end, tomorrow I will hold an iPhone in my hand and I will be able to talk about it. But you're right. The people are more on script than they used to be. And leaving aside the fact that there was a time when some of these product launches, they took questions afterward from the audience. And like Steve Jobs would answer questions about what he had just announced. And that's long gone, but you're right. They're more on script. They're more disciplined. That means there's less for us to glean about it. But in the end, at the very least, you get to look at the product with your own eyes instead of their photography and hold it in your own hands. And that has some value, but it is, you've got to fight against the narrative setting that Apple is going to do, because that's their PR.
After Marquez Brownlee noted the fingerprints on the Midnight Blue M2 last time, I wonder if they're rethinking letting you hold it in their hands.
I don't think so, but remember, every employee is equipped with at least one cloth and probably a little spritzer as well, a little spray bottle.
It's for COVID. It's a COVID.
And they wipe it. I mean, they were doing that before COVID. Like they don't want your monkey hands to mess up their beautiful Gorilla Glass, if you get my meaning.
I think they really should have used COVID as an excuse not to touch the devices. They missed an opportunity there.
Yeah, but they know the value of the hands-on, right? Like,
it's a tension between
people,
getting.
You got to hold it in your hand,
you're
right?
Yeah,
you got to.
Rich DeMuro has to say, "I'm static next." Yeah, I'm holding it. Yeah,
I've got my exclusive hands-on review.
First hands-on review.
Hardware.
Right.
Because the truth is, if the hands-on didn't have value, they wouldn't need to go back to an in-person event, because we did that for 2 years with the pandemic with Zoom, and they would brief you on Zoom, and then a FedEx box would show up at your door with a product in it, and then you would write your review. And that was fine, but they obviously see value in the launch having hands-on experience.
They want the buzz,
people who are covering
the single-day buzz that happens on this one day, this annual event. The Apple holiday is tomorrow. Andy, you're going to join me tomorrow?
Absolutely.
10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 1700
crack
UTC.
of noon. That's how much I'm into
the crack of noon, live.twit.tv. I will reassure you, some people were concerned at my offhand comment that maybe Paul Thurrott should also be here to give the anti-Apple point of view. He has declined. He does not want to be that guy. He'll tweet it. He just doesn't want to be have a target on his back. So, Andy, it's going to be up to you to give the contrarian point of view.
Excellent. I'll switch from clear liquor to amber liquor just to make sure that I'm on point.
We do that because otherwise it's just a damn commercial, and you can watch the commercial. If all you want is the commercial, please be our guest. Watch the live Apple event, and absorb it undiluted. However, if you'd like a little bit of ice along with your brown liquor,
and we fill it. And we fill it all with, like, did you see that camera move?
I know, I love that.
As soon as they get slow, they're like,
I think I might want to have two monitors open for this.
I really think,
Would it be Inception if instead of watching the Apple stream, we watched you? Oh, you guys don't do the Apple stream, though.
So we don't publish the Apple stream with it, because what we do is it's designed so that you can listen to it and not hear it back. So you could watch the full quality version at the same time that you're listening to us.
That's smart.
It's a second
Someday we may have to do that. Apple does prevent us from doing it on YouTube. So if you are a live viewer and you watch on YouTube, you will be seeing a rerun at that time. Don't be flummoxed. Just attempt to find it elsewhere. And I think Pirate Bay will be the place to look.
Pirate Bay Theater.
Pirate Bay Theater. And we will have extensive commentary in a week. If you were going to receive a review unit, and if that review unit would have an embargo on the editorial, when would that typically be in years past? Did I phrase that diplomatically enough?
I think the embargoes tend to be Wednesday, Thursday of the following week.
So we won't have your unembargoed thoughts.
I don't traditionally get the iPhone day and date. I tend to get it the day the embargo drops as part of the second wave.
Okay.
But if I did have one, I couldn't talk about it. Right. But I don't expect to get one. I don't expect that I'll have that. I'll be in the dark with. I will have touched it, and I'll return back with all of my touch observations next week.
Perfect. And we will endeavor, I think I will endeavor to have one a week from Friday, which I think is when they'll be arriving. Andy, are you buying this year, or are you staying
I'm not
back?
buying this year.
Not buying this year.
I will say that I might be buying an iPhone next year. It's depending on what.
Very exciting. We will watch with interest.
Well, switching platforms would be a big deal. So.
The OTB bookies are preparing their odds. Yeah, it would be a big deal. It would be a big deal.
I'll be tapping on the order button.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I'll be up 5 a.m. on Friday and ordering for myself, for my wife, probably Micah. No, John, you don't get one, but you might get a hand-me-down. He's cheering. Speaking of John, you know, we have the best staff in the world, and you guys all deserve huge credit. John Ashley's running the board. John Slonina took a break from his concert tour. All this month, John will be going to live shows from Humphreys McGee and Roger Waters. Who did you see last? Was it Roger? Humphreys. When's the first Roger concert? Saturday. Okay. And then we're all going, the staff's all going on the 23rd. How many Roger Waters concerts again are you going to see? 8. He's a glutton for Floyd. But why did I say that? Oh, because we love our staff. And when it comes time, sadly, to leave, to say goodbye to someone, we just recently lost Ashley in our continuity department. Where do we go to hire the replacement? Immediately, we go to ZipRecruiter. Macbreak Weekly brought to you by today, ZipRecruiter. It is what we use to hire. Because, you know, Lisa and the managers of the departments that are doing the hiring are very, very busy. We are a small staff working very hard, and they don't have a lot of time to, you know, assess, you know, hundreds of applicants and go through a lot of resumes, answer a lot of phone calls. That's why ZipRecruiter is great, because you post on ZipRecruiter, it reaches out to the largest possible number of people. They post it to a bunch of job sites, I think 100 plus job sites, social networks, and so forth. So you really are reaching out to everybody. But then it does something really remarkable. Really remarkable. It goes through people go to ZipRecruiter to get a job, so they have hundreds of thousands, I think more than 1 million current resumes. They use their technology to match the candidates in their database with your job, and then they say, hey, we've got 20 people here who might be right for the job. You review them and invite your top choices to apply, and that really works for us. Welcome Viva, who replaced Ashley. We found her on ZipRecruiter. And it's worked wonderfully. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. John Ashley, did we use ZipRecruiter, or did we get you? I think we knew you from Pixel Corps, right? Yes. But Benito came from ZipRecruiter, I believe. So it's really a great way to hire. We get the best possible candidates. Look, I know hiring is challenging. Couldn't be harder, because those people are the most important part of your company, the people who make it happen. But there is one place where finding qualified candidates is easy, and that's ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter.com/MacBreak. They're the #1 rated hiring site based on G2 satisfaction ratings as of January 1st, 2022. Unless we know somebody ahead of time, like we did with you, John Ashley, or unless you move next door to us like you did, John Slonina, many years ago. John made sure we knew about him. But everybody else, it's ZipRecruiter. Try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/MacBreak. ZipRecruiter.com/MacBreak. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And we can say that with absolute confidence, because that's exactly what we do. It's the only way we hire. There are other related stories to this event tomorrow. I think, though, we've pretty much covered everything, right, that might be coming up. Yeah.
Phone, AirPods, watch.
That's it.
Maybe some new services, particularly new services related to the watch for fitness, but
fitness, right?
Do you think they'll add to Fitness Plus, or they'll have something else? They always add a little to Fitness Plus. Now we've got polka dancing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that kind of thing.
And new exercises and new sports that they can track with a watch. That's something that they'll.
I track my dancing when I dance. Like when we go to Motley Crue tomorrow.
I track my curling.
Do you curl? Where do you find it? Where do you curl?
The Bay Area Curling Club in Oakland, actually. It's
nice.
Great.
They have ice.
People in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
They got their own dedicated facility. It's the only one in Northern California. Come sign up for a Learn to Curl.
If you're a sweeper, does the watch go, I think you're sweeping?
Well, it's one curling workout, but the watch knows when you're sweeping because your blood, your heart rate shoots up, because that is hard work to do the sweeping part. That is the hard work.
That looks like that's exercise, boy.
It's a lot of work.
Not the thing where you kind of slowly take the stone and you go.
Well, I mean, it's a 40-pound stone, Leo. It's heavy. It's real heavy.
All right. I respect. I'm not knocking. I'm not at the curlers.
Yeah, but the sweeping is the extra aerobic activity. But it's in there. There's a curling in Apple Watch, and I use it, and I close my rings on the days where I'm doing curling.
I literally
we forget about Fitness Plus, but Fitness Plus is essentially an Apple Watch accessory, right? So this would be the perfect time for them to talk about Fitness Plus.
I love Fitness Plus because I have, we have a home gym and I have a rowing machine, which is boring. Usually I just watch Jeopardy, but with Fitness Plus, I can actually get a coach coaching me while I row, which makes a big difference in how hard I work, I must say. My Embolic doesn't really get my heart rate up that high. Yeah,
the fitness videos are just amazing.
They're good, and the way they shoot them. Remember, iJustine's great. Yeah, incredible.
So good.
Xcode Cloud subscriptions now available for developers. They talked about this at WWDC. The idea that you could have full cloud-based builds, continuous integration, CI, and continuous delivery, CI/CD, built into the Xcode app. It's actually been around. You can use it, but now they have an official. It's been available since June, but they have an official plan now. 25 compute hours free per month, then $15 a month. 100 compute hours per month, $50. I imagine they're developers who are, not my kind of developer who are working at home alone, but they're developers who would be very interested in this. Do a lot of Apple products use CI/CD, or that seems like more a DevOps enterprise kind of thing? Yeah,
but this is an interesting one. We'll see the uptake. This has been a long time coming. This was a 2021 WWDC announcement.
It was.
So it's been in beta for almost a year now, I think. And now they've gotten to this point, but I think they must feel that there's a particular niche for developers, and since to develop for Apple's platforms you basically have to use their developer tools, I think they felt like they needed to provide this because they're the first party and only party for a lot of these tools. So if you want, this feels very much like some big development companies came to them and said, you have to offer this.
Yeah. It does. It's for parity. Absolutely. It's interesting because Microsoft, which of course is very much about developers, has been slowly moving to this. I think I'm not crazy about it, but it seems to be the way of the world. Developer as a service platform. They're selling services to developers. Even VS Code, which is their free, ostensibly open source development IDE, is moving more towards the services platform where you pay a monthly fee. And I think Microsoft's pushing very hard to make at least, enterprise level, big iron development be a service that you pay monthly for. So it's not surprising that Apple is at least offering this. Do people like Thompson use stuff like this? Probably not. I mean, James Thompson's doing his own thing, right? He doesn't need to work.
There's a lot of testing that needs to scale.
Yeah.
There's a lot of testing that needs to scale. And so it helps to be able to throw it on a lot of things.
Sure.
And that's been a big problem. I mean, there's definitely some services out there, but it's been a big problem for Apple developers because it's something you can spin up in AWS pretty quickly, with a PC instance, but not necessarily with a Mac instance. Right. So I think it's.
And if you're stuck using Xcode to develop, although I guess you're not because there are cross-platform tools even from Microsoft and Google. But I think most people are going to use Xcode, right?
Here's the problem is that, again, what I was talking about earlier, if you don't write to the all the cross-platform stuff for Apple is a waste of time.
Flutter.
Like, I'm just going to say it. Like, you can do little Electron apps that are that run horribly and take up a lot of memory and time and everything else. So you can write those little things for things like Discord or Slack or whatever, because they don't really have any. They don't need any performance, and I guess you don't notice that they're sucking up so much of your CPU. But if you're doing real applications that need to perform, so if you're really building audio and video apps or anything that really needs to use that processor, you're going to have to write. You have to write to the Mac, with the tools. And I think that's part of why they have to do this, is because all this none of this cross-platform stuff is going to work when you want to take full advantage of the OS.
And this is, some of the advantages of this cloud stuff here. It's in larger groups. You're going to be able to set different branches to have different build paths. You're going to be able to flow into test flight. So, like, if you commit to certain branches, it will kick off a test flight for that version. Like, they're really trying to integrate this at this level. But yes, I think it's going to be for. I don't know if it's even for huge work groups, as for like work groups as opposed to indie developers who want to use this more. And the pricing is, honestly, even for small developers, if they can get benefit out of it, the pricing starts pretty low and then it scales. So, it's kind of interesting, but we'll see. It hasn't taken the world by storm, right? Because they announced it in 2021 and it's still only now just kind of emerging from beta. Right. So we'll see how it goes.
Apple looks like they might be making Costa Eleftheriou whole. You may remember that name. He's the developer who created, I think, a very popular Apple Watch keyboard called FlickType. Apple pulled it from the App Store, saying it offered a poor user experience, and then approved competing keyboard apps and others that used FlickType in the App Store. This annoyed Costa, who then became the #1 App Store complainant in a variety of areas, and finally sued them over App Store rejections, scams, and fraud. And apparently, according to TechCrunch, Apple, because they saw some court filings, Apple has filed a request to dismiss the suit with the cooperation of Eleftheriou. We don't know details about what the settlement might be, but I hope they have made him whole, and I hope Costa didn't settle. He's pretty prickly, so
he's still criticizing on his Twitter feed. So whatever happened here, he was not.
They didn't get him to shut up, huh?
They didn't get him to shut up. Exactly right.
But when TechCrunch asked him what the terms were, he said unable to comment. That is, by the way, always the case when you settle a lawsuit. All you're allowed to say is, to the mutual satisfaction of both parties. So I'm hoping he got something that made him happy. He then, of course, he's been our source for a lot of App Store scams, and so I guess they didn't shut him up in that regard. So I hope he keeps doing that. That's good. You can't really, right? First Amendment. You can't say, oh, well, I guess Apple's not a government agency. But
unless you agree not to say anything.
Right.
You can.
It's interesting that Apple didn't insist on that. So.
Well, they wanted to settle though, right? You got to give to get, and it may be that he said, "This is where I draw the line." Right? It's like a severance agreement or something like that, where they might have tried to do something non-disparagement. My guess is that it was like limited to his case and not to the broader issues. Was probably what they agreed to.
And as TechCrunch points out, the Justice Department is rumored to be in the early stages of investigating and filing an antitrust lawsuit. EU has also been, giving them the stink eye. So maybe it's better for Apple just to get this off the table. Eleftheriou could not yet say what, if anything, has changed. But he does say he's working on a project related to an iPhone keyboard. His amended complaint referenced difficulties with building keyboard apps, as Apple never made available a developer API to request full access directly from the keyboard, which made it hard to do on the watch, of course. He also argued that Apple constrains third-party keyboards in areas like available memory, the ability to gather data to make better predictions, the ability to be used in password fields. I understand why Apple may be restricting that. We don't know if Apple gave on that. He did build a software tool to identify App Store subscriptions, scams, and frauds. He says it's still running. Just the other day, I reran my scam finding tool and was able to find several new scam apps within 5 minutes. If Eleftheriou can find it within 5 minutes, you'd think Apple might, why don't you give him that tool, Costa? So anyway.
Yeah, this happened where there was an app called Aviary, which is a Twitter-related app, I believe.
I use it.
And they got rejected for an update because they mentioned Twitter. And that got a retweet from John Gruber, which, as Costa will say, like, if you get a retweet from Gruber, they might solve your problem. But how many fail silently and are trapped and have no way out?
Right.
But Gruber's comment was, this is why Apple needs more App Store infrastructure, like an ombudsman or somebody who's like maybe straddles the line between inside and outside and can come to Apple and say, why is this happening? Something, right? Like Apple could do more here is the bottom line, right? They could do more. It's amazing that this stuff still goes on, both the weird rejections and the acceptances of clear scam apps. And what I've always thought is the App Store is so successful and makes so much money that anytime somebody says we should change what we do with the App Store, somebody inside Apple says, why? We make lots of money. Let's just keep doing it. And, it's what did John Madden say? Winning is a great deodorant. There's stuff that stinks at the App Store, but they make so much money that maybe they just don't care.
I use Shahab Mahboob's Aviary. It's an excellent app for Twitter. Of course, it's a Twitter client. So in the title of the app, it mentions Twitter. Apple said, no, you can't have Twitter, a trademark term, in the app subtitle. He says that was unfair in its own right, as many apps do this. I removed it, but it's still getting rejected. To which John Gruber tweets, and this was a couple of days ago, for the umpteenth time I say Apple needs an App Store ombudsman, an advocate for developers like Shahab.
They need to absolutely clean house on the App Store. How many years have we been talking about just egregiously stupid choices, egregiously stupid bureaucracy, the developers who feel like they have to fight Apple to actually exist on their platform. How many years have we been doing that, and how many years are we going to continue to do that before we acknowledge that this is I agree with Jason. This is not a, oh gosh, our hands are tied, or oh gosh, this is just so hard to do this at scale. It's no, there is a certain minimum number of dams that Apple has to give before they fix this. Apple doesn't feel as though they have reached the minimum number of dams required to actually see this as a real problem. So this is not something that a policy change is going to fix. Not even an ombudsman. It's going to be get someone from the outside who is not part of that culture, who has the power to basically say, "Oh wow, are you people totally not doing this right?" And now we're going to be having a year in which the Steve Jobs like town hall, like little meeting, which 150 Apple employees are in the theater saying, "You people should be ashamed of yourselves. What do you do? Justify yourself."
To which developer David Bernard tweets, "I searched for Twitter on the App Store. Ooh, look what I found. Kinky BDSM kinky fetish. Birdie for Twitter. For fans, search engine for fans only." This is what you find when you search for Twitter in Apple's App Store. 2 dots, sex actions, and Truth Social. So, and I can go on and on. So I think there's a proud day for the App Store.
Yeah, I will say though that like every time we bring this up, I talk to other people because I've worked on a bunch of teams that build apps for the App Store, and we just have we definitely take 2 weeks to. Like in the schedule, there's 2 weeks to get it into the App Store because we know that, it'll go in and Apple will kick it back and then we'll fix something and then we'll put it in and then it'll go in. But it's in our schedule. Like there's 2 weeks that is the submission before, and then there's usually another 2 weeks before we talk about it, and these are big, these are kind of, big apps that we kind of put together. And then I talk to people that I develop for, and I just have to say that, there's definitely a vocal bunch of folks that are there that are talking about it, but just none of us see the drama that we're talking about here. So I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm not saying that they can't do it better.
Oh, but
I'm
Alex,
just saying that I've heard about it.
If it happened to you, we would be hearing about it, right? So you've been lucky.
Right. But I don't know if I'm lucky. I've been doing this on and off for 10 years.
So maybe you're doing it better than they are somehow?
Well, I'm just saying that a bunch of it's not just me, because I keep on asking a bunch of people that I've done development with or that I know that are developers, and they're like, yeah, it's not a problem.
Interesting.
And so it's like, so they're like, we never had a problem submitting. Like, we don't know what they're talking about. Like, there's definitely things that get kicked back, and then we just take them out or move them around, and then we put them back in, and then it's fine. And so I just need to water this down just a little bit, in the sense that it's kind of one of those things that, I've heard that it happens. I've just never actually seen it. And so the thing is that, and the thing, people who start traveling find I guess the way I kind of view it is that when people start to travel, it's very overwhelming, like, to do all the things that you need to do, especially like if you have to go in and out of customs, you have to do all that. Oh my gosh, this is really hard. And, as frequent flyers, we're kind of like, yeah, sure. It's like, it's not that hard to do. You just get used to all the little things you have to do. Or when people, like, another example is when people work with the union. The first time I did the union, I was like, this is crazy. This is not exist, blah, blah, blah. After a while, I just got used to it, and we hire someone to manage it, and it just kind of gets done, and it's and it works fine, and so the thing is that I just see it as, we forget that that they left an open door and let just about anybody submit an app to a platform. That's, in my opinion, a horrible idea. It's a horrible idea to just let yahoos all submit stuff, and then they complain about the fact that they don't understand why it doesn't work. Well, sure, but figure out how it works. But most people that I've worked with have just figured out, the vast majority of the people, and these are people that build all kinds of different apps. Now, I admit they're mostly corporate apps where we, have a team that works on the thing, and I just am always amazed that people just don't figure out the way the system works and then make it work.
I think that's unfair. Yeah. I think just because it hasn't happened to you, I think that's unfair.
It's not just me.
Those people are not writing the kinds of apps that are triggering this. And look, enough people are saying it. like Aviary, stop writing Aviary, and don't mention Twitter. And then, I think, Alex, what you're saying is purely anecdotal. Great. I'm glad you haven't had that problem, but people are having that problem.
There's a pretty high percentage that have said that they're really happy with it. Like, we say, oh, well, there's 30%. There's 30% of the people who aren't happy with the App Store. Well, if there were 30% of the United States that didn't like the way it was going, we wouldn't even listen to them. We'd be like, well, there's 70% that do.
I'm sorry.
So, but really, the thing is that 30% is not a big number.
By the way, and I will be, to be fair,
it seems absurd.
It took me 12, when I searched for Twitter, the top 12 results were related, sort of. It took me 12 to get to Sex Actions, Truth Social, and so forth. So it takes a little while to get down to those BBW dating. I don't know why those come up with Twitter, but they do. Look, there's clearly problems. That's not anecdotal. There's clearly problems. Sure. And I agree with John Gruber. There should be somebody representing developers better than what's happening inside of Apple. I'm sorry that every system can get better. Problem.
No, I didn't say it wasn't a problem. Every system can get better, but as systems get this big, I've just worked in a lot of systems that are this large. It's almost impossible to fix all of it. And you pull one string and something else comes apart.
I'm telling you, Apple's going to pay the price, because the EU, the FTC, the DOJ, they're going to be paying the price, and they're going to have to bend. I wish they'd bend without having to be sued.
I don't think it'll be Apple. Apple will pay some price, but the people that are really going to develop the small developer who's going to pay the biggest price, because what Apple will do is tighten everything up, and so right now anybody can do it and it's all there. But the thing is to respond to all of this, Apple's response to whatever happens with the government is going to negatively affect the small developer, and the developers that are making $1 million or more, they have a lot of things they can probably get out of this and squeeze out of this and make it work and everything else. But the small developer just wanting to make it work, who is willing to just work inside of whatever's there, the vast majority of them out there, 98%, they will be negatively affected by how Apple responds to what it's getting. You can't legislate all of this stuff, and Apple will just try to make it more streamlined for them, and it will negatively affect the small developer. That's why I keep on pushing it back, is because I am technically a small developer, and so I know that I will be negatively affected by the response that governments do. Apple's going to do something that's going to make it work.
Well, that's why I want Apple to do it, so that they don't get forced to do it by government.
Yeah, the threat of a response has so negatively affected them that they get to keep a larger percentage than they ever used to, right? Like the threat of response. Yeah. I get what Alex is saying, which is often the actual government response leads to very weird distortions that aren't.
You get the cookie. You get the cookie menu, right?
Yeah, you don't want that, but you do want the pressure put on them to behave better. And I think what it comes down to is Alex said at some scale it becomes impossible, and I think that's the issue.
I didn't say
here,
impossible. It's just it makes it impossible to make everybody happy. Like, with all of these, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or Apple, like it's all the system is so big and so complex. It's like trying to change the weather.
I get that it's
is that you can make progress, you just can't fix it.
I get that it's unwieldy, but this is the choice: is either Apple needs to take more steps to make it work better, or because Apple has this exclusivity and it's the only way onto the platform, the other end result is that Apple is going to lose part of their business model because you can't have both. And I think, and I think John Gruber thinks, and I think Costa thinks that Apple isn't doing everything they could. And that's the thing is, I get it. I get what you're saying, Alex, but I don't believe that Apple is doing everything it could to prevent scams on the App Store and to prevent weird rejections like this. I think that they could spend more money out of the huge amount of money they make on the App Store in order to make these systems better. Would they be perfect? No, but then you try to build in a system to find the mistakes and correct them. But the problem is, like, if they don't do that and they're the only path onto their platform, they're going to get regulated. So they have to choose, do I spend money to make this stuff go away, or am I going to lose my exclusivity? Because the truth is that, yes, if Apple is no longer the exclusive path on because somebody's forced them not to be, I think the next step is that Apple does crank up all of the difficulty levels and makes it a much more curated store. And then the stories are going to be people complaining that they didn't get into the App Store, and that will hurt small developers.
And I should point out, Apple is by far the best App Store out there. If you compare it to Microsoft or the Google Play Store, those stores are horrible, filled with junk, scams, misrepresentations, and neither company seems to be able to do anything about it. So Apple is the best of the worst, but I think Apple maybe could do better. Why not? We're going to move on because it's 110 degrees in the shade, and Jason's got no air conditioning in his garage.
The shade is gone, Leo. It's gone.
So we're going to move on real quickly. Just a couple of big, quick stories. OWC, Otherworld Computing, just today announced that they've bought the Apple trading company. Interesting timing, sellyourmac.com. So I don't know how soon that can happen, but given that Apple's announcing a whole bunch of products tomorrow, that might have been very, very good timing. macOS, according to Eclectic Light Company, which has been a very good source for kind of inside Apple OS stuff, he has now observed that Apple is scanning pretty much all the time, whenever you're not doing something else, to find bad stuff, which is a good thing. In effect, it's turned Apple's protection into an antivirus. That's how antiviruses work.
So it's not just doing it on action. It is actually scanning multiple times a day looking for stuff.
Yeah. That's a big difference, and probably a good thing. And it certainly I haven't seen any slowdown in my Mac. So XProtect Remediator, which is executable code modules which scan for and remediate detected malware. He also provides a list at eclecticlight.co. Good news. Let's see real quickly. A USB 4. You're going to love this, Alex. USB 4 version 2.0 will further
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, but it's 80 gigabits per second. It's twice as fast as USB 4 version 1.0. So,
I mean, here's the deal: is I would love it. I just think that they should make inside the USB platform. I've gotten I got a lot of heat because I've made a hard time, and I know people that are in the USB consortium who send me emails and angry emails about this.
They say this is their internal designation, and you will when it comes out, you will see labels and icons, and you'll know what your cable does.
My request is that there's got to be like a rule that there's a certain blue or there's a certain green or whatever that you're only allowed to use with a certain logo that you're only allowed to use if it's this new format.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything else with it and everything else, because that way we could maybe tell but it's just so hard. It's so
impossible.
hard to figure out USB. I have so many USB-C cables and
throw them out.
I have them taped. I have taped color on them to tell me what their speed is. Because I don't. Some of them are like 10 megs.
Does somebody sell a Type-C cable tester that you can figure out what capabilities the cable has?
This Blackmagic speed test. I have a drive that I know how fast it is. I plug it into a drive and I hit test and it just tells me how fast it is and I go, okay, that because I know how fast the drive is. So the drive is capable of 2,000 megs a second or so, and so I can tell where the cable sits inside that world, and I just mark them accordingly. Otherwise, because we hook them to cameras and we need them to go 800-900 megs a second is the for like a 8K 120 or that kind of thing out of a Blackmagic camera, you need it to run about that speed, and so slower cables.
We got to get Benson Leong to create a box. Benson already tests USB-C cables. He works at Google as a Google engineer. He's a friend of the show, and he already tests USB-C cables. But Benson, make a box that you just plug it in. And it does a readout. It says all the things that cable can do. That would be really good. Wouldn't that be good?
I mean, there's USB testing little testers.
Yeah, to test power or to test speed. But you want it all. I want it all. I want a readout that says this is USB 4 Type 2.0 or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Tells you what color of sticker to put on it.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Update your Chrome right now. 0-day Google Chrome for Mac and Windows. Google has pushed out an update. It's a 0-day. Which means it's in the wild. It's being exploited right now. CVE 2022-3075. I am sure that Steve Gibson in about 10 minutes will be talking about this. But a little PSA, public service announcement. Update your Chrome if you haven't already. Usually all it requires is closing Chrome and reopening it, and you should get the newest version, unless you're offline. But then why do you have a browser? And Brazil, just in the nick of time, has ordered Apple to suspend iPhone sales if they ain't going to put a charger in the box and fine them pittance, $2.38 million. But you won't be able to sell iPhones in Brazil anymore if you don't.
I have a prediction here.
What'll happen?
It's like the thing where France had your iPhone box was inside another box with a pair of headphones because that was the rule.
Yeah.
Well, guess what, Brazil? You're getting the box with
a box within a box. There's a box in that box.
There'll be a charging brick in there.
Yep. Whee! It has not stopped iPhone sales. iPhone U.S. market share hits all-time high, overtaking Android. I'm sorry, Andy.
Yep.
And it also dominates global premium sales, obviously.
I am not an investor. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Global Apple, the premium segment has a wholesale price of over $400. Apple has 57% of the world market. In the ultra premium slice of $1,000 plus devices, Apple owns 78% of the segment. I don't know who has the rest. Who has the other 22?
Google or Samsung, probably.
Samsung. Yeah, the Fold is. Yeah, that must be it. Yeah, there you go.
They got a lot of nice high-end phones too. Right?
It just goes to show Apple's policy has always been that we don't care about market share. We care about making the most money we can off of every customer we have and retaining those customers for as long as we can retain them. So it's good.
Yeah, and as Andy knows, the corollary to that is there are points below which Apple doesn't feel like they want to go because they don't think the product is going to match their brand and is going to be good enough. And we can argue about where that line should be drawn, but you put them both together and that's the answer, which is it's there's a level below which Apple will never go. They will never be the low price leader. I'm amazed that after, when I started in this business in the 90s, like market share was all anybody ever talked about. And I kind of like that we kind of never even talk about market share anymore. It's kind of refreshing not to.
And if anything, like the European Union might be different, but in the United States, an antitrust is really complicated when you have less than 70 or 80% of the market. It's really an uphill battle. And so going for a higher market with the same revenue at a smaller market share is to Apple's advantage. Like if we'll probably see them keep leaning towards the those higher numbers, because having the smaller the market share is, if they can maintain revenue, the better it is for them.
I mean, in the Wintel era, it was seen as like a zero-sum game where it was like the kiss of death if you weren't the market share winner. That was in the Wintel era, like it was always like Windows and Intel, and they control everything, and everything else the Mac is doomed. Forget about it. And in our era today, it is this multi-platform era where like PCs and Windows are doing their thing. Apple's doing their thing with the Mac. There's iPhone, there's Android, there's iPad, there's Chromebooks, and like there are interesting business dynamics going on in various markets and all of that. But I don't feel anywhere that there's somebody saying like that there's the specter of doom for a platform is hovering over your market share numbers. It just feels like we've left that era behind, and I for one do not miss it. I don't miss that idea that if your numbers are down this quarter, it means your whole platform is doomed.
I do think that one thing that Apple is getting better and better at, and they're uniquely set up for this, is the lock-in across all the platforms. So if you're an Apple user, it just becomes more and more cumbersome to use anything else. Like, because there's so many things that so easily integrate your computer with your Apple TV, with your phone. Like, everything just talks to each other. And because Apple's building all the chips and all the software and all the development, it gets so tight where, it used to be, I used to have in this studio, I used to have a couple PCs and I had a Linux box and I had some other stuff in there, and it was just too much trouble. Like I was just like, okay, enough of this. And so I still have them. I still use them for a couple of the development things that we do, but I don't keep them in my studio anymore because it's just too much. Like it was so much of my time was being spent trying to get these computers to talk to each other. With the Mac, it's just like, I just drag this over here and then I move over here and I move my mouse over there. And I think the lock-in is getting pretty intense.
Yeah, it is pretty disappointing. I think it shows something that Apple, a trick that Apple has never demonstrated any proficiency at, meaning that they're really good when they get to control as much of the playing field as possible. When you introduce variables that almost every other developer of every other hardware device has to deal with, they nope out of that completely. And so and that's fine. I mean, if you're happy with the products that Apple is creating, if you are, I think there are going to be a lot of people who are very thrilled to have an iPhone that's matched to an Apple Watch that's matched to AirPods. However, I think that sometimes, particularly in Apple fandom, this becomes why can't Samsung doesn't do anything nearly as nice as this, and Google doesn't make a phone nearly as nice as that. Yeah, but when you buy other phones, other devices, you can use whatever you want with it. Apple, they really do make it difficult to not to reach outside of that platform in any way, shape, or form. Even the two-factor authentication, which is I'm glad that Apple has an authentication system that says, hey, if you're trying to log into a brand new machine that didn't exist before with your Apple ID, we are going to authenticate you through another Apple device. That's fine. That's a lot better than a SIM card swap, being able to steal your identity and stuff like that. But nonetheless, it means that as someone who uses an Android phone, that means that I have to go to the other room, reach into my bag, get out my iPad for another Apple device that was going to receive this message. Whereas if they simply said, oh, by the way, we're using a standard authentication scheme, we will have apps available for pretty much every mobile platform that's going to be you might want to authenticate with. See, that's the sort of stuff that makes. If I'm scoring Apple like as an Olympic judge, that's why they don't get 10s across the board. That's why there's the point deductions always whenever I think about them that way.
I think that the funny thing is, for me, when that happens, like suddenly all these computers light up with this code, like here's the code, and so it's on like every monitor has like the code that I need to get into whatever I'm getting into. And the thing is that I think that Apple users, the people who are buying all these, that's the lifestyle that Apple is catering to the lifestyle that we prefer, which is, I just want it to be like, I don't think Apple users buy Apple because they're geeky. I think they buy them because they're doing things and they just don't want all the other stuff to get in the way. They don't want to spend a bunch of time trying to figure out how this interfaces with that. They just want it to all work, and I think that, and I'm sure that there's a small percentage that don't want that, but I bet you it's, Apple tends to what does 90% of the people want to do 90% of the time? And that is, we just want it to work, and I've had times in my life where I've had many, many different platforms, but I've kind of past that now.
Well, that's an excellent point. But the other thing is like my Sony wireless earbuds, they actually interact with more devices a lot more easily than any Apple earbuds that I've ever tried. A lot of other services, they also just plain work. It's not as though there are times when Apple is really giving me an advantage by having all this tight integration between each other. But there are times where you're just doing a very, very average job, and I'm giving up something without, it feels like, getting anything in return. And so like I said, it's going to be on a case by case basis, a person by person basis. They're parts of my my coverage of Apple and coverage of companies, which is very, very practical, very, very standard. Which is, hey, how well does this phone work? How well, is it a good value based on the other one? Hey, they've got new feature. Is it snake oil or does it actually work? But there is, because people like Jason and I, we've been like looking at this company for decades, for like most of our lives, and so you do get to think of it as a character and try to judge them as, are they doing everything they could possibly be doing? I mean, are they demonstrating excellence, and they're challenging themselves in every way they possibly can, and they're challenging themselves in ways that would pay off for the user. And there are some times where they would much rather just stand there with a bat on their shoulder and just watch the pitch go by rather than swing at it, because it's just not worth it for them.
Well, I think
that's not a great thing.
And they're playing a different game a little bit, and I think that's sometimes the frustration with Apple, is that they're playing a different game than some of their competitors, and there are places they choose not to go. And like, instead of making headphones for a whole bunch of different devices, they make headphones for Apple devices, and they do work with other devices, but that's not the point of them, and they don't care. The Apple Watch is fundamentally an iPhone accessory. That's the device it works with, and that's all it works with. I will point out, though, I want to throw it out there, since this is where we started, that if you do the math, there have to be more people who own iPhones and have Windows PCs than have Macs. Just throwing it out there.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's do the math.
Which is weird.
So it is weird, but like, we talk about the Apple ecosystem play, and I think that's why Apple's ecosystem, they feel like there's always more market share for them to gather and more customers for them to grab, because they know that there's so many people who use Windows PCs and iPhones, and that's an opportunity for them on the Mac side. But it is, and here's another thing, which is, I wonder if we're not giving enough, and I'm not saying we, meaning me, because I don't want to do it. Please don't make me run Windows 11. But like, the average iPhone experience is somebody with Windows 11 or 10 or 8.
The reason for that, though, Jason, is because their business bought them the computer, and they bought the iPhone. And this has been kind of seen everywhere. Business drives Windows. And by the way, if you've ever had to use Windows 11, you have my deepest sympathy. This is in fact, don't tell anybody, but I don't understand why anybody uses Windows anymore. It's gotten worse, not better. It's really crappy. And there are other good choices out there, including macOS. I'm just stunned. But it's because businesses, they keep buying them. We buy them. Our editors, I feel sorry for you, John. I don't know why you're using Windows 11. Oh, yeah, because we bought it for you. Okay. But do you use an iPhone?
No.
Oh, never mind.
Android.
Well, then.
You don't know any better. That's all. That's fine.
I think it does come down to, there are a lot of people that can't afford $1,000 minimum for a laptop.
Yeah,
and so
that might be sure.
And it's actually, and I do think more highly of Windows 11 than you do. Although I would not.
Do you have to use it though? Do you use it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have to make sure that I remain a global citizen. Yeah, I've got Linux. I got Linux machines. I've got. I've got.
If you try to use Windows 11 as your daily driver for more than 2 weeks, come back to us then. And let me know what you think.
Well, I will say that my daily driver laptop was a Lenovo X1 running, I think, Windows 10.
Okay.
Because like I did not want to buy I desperately needed a new laptop, but I absolutely at the time did not want to give any money to Apple for a piece of junk like 2016.
The butterfly keys.
Right, exactly.
But I also understand if you only have $800 to spend, you're not going to get an Apple Mac. You're gonna get something else. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Put Linux on it, though. Do yourself a favor.
Scrivener for Linux. We need that.
Oh, is that why you're using it? Because you use Scrivener. Interesting.
A lot of it was that I have to say that I like Linux, but at least when I get a problem with Windows, I know that I can find the answers for it. With Linux, it's like, okay, well, first of all, you're going to have to check the new driver for your graphics chip. Like, I have to check the what for my what? Oh no, it's simple. It's simple. Just run this script. Like, I have to.
Windows just is crap. I mean, it's just crappy. I mean, it's crapulous.
I wouldn't say that. It's not the best for. It's not the best
crappy.
For me.
It's poorly designed, and it's buggy, and it's unreliable, and the people who do have to use it, like our editors, live in the edit. So you don't deal with Windows particularly. As long as your editor is working, if Premiere is working, I suppose if you lived in Scrivener, you wouldn't experience the crapulosity that is Windows, but it is
no, I do.
Really bad.
When I was using that laptop, that Lenovo laptop, I was using it regular apps. I was using Office suites. I was using everything. And I have to say that it was so much better of a laptop in many ways, even than the MacBook that I have right now. There are things that I liked about it, and I would have appreciated the ability to look out there and find a laptop that was exactly the laptop that I want, not the one that a company that only offers essentially two different dresses were willing to sell me. So I don't disagree with you that Mac is superior to. I share your opinion on that. I don't think it's garbage. If it were garbage, I mean, you're not talking about.
Let me put it this way: Microsoft did an update last week that showed Chrome and all Chrome-based apps like Electron apps to be a virus. Compelling many people to call my radio show saying, I have a virus. No, you don't. You have Chrome and Windows, and I'm so sorry.
I'll say, I know you want to. I know you probably want to move on.
I really do.
The only thing I'll say to button this up is that's the difference between Windows runs on 82% of the desktops everywhere. They have to make an operating system that works with absolutely everything, and they don't have control over the apps, all the apps that are being created for it. They don't have all the control over all the hardware that's being done. That's why one of the benefits of Apple is that, again, they have so much control, and the customer benefits from that. But I just don't want to. I don't like extrapolating that to, oh well, this is crap, and why doesn't? I know you're not saying that's this, but some people will extend that to, oh, why does Microsoft don't care about their design? Why do they not care about reliability? It's like, that's because they are the water company that's keeping water to the entire community. They are not a boutique salon that gives you bespoke artisanal bottles to 8% of the people who have the money to spend on bespoke artisanal flavors.
Our show today brought to you by
I just want to argue that's exactly the argument I made about the App Store about a half an hour ago. can't fix everything.
I don't think it is, big. But go ahead. Okay. I really don't think it is. But go ahead.
Our show today brought to you by CashFly. Quite literally, they are our CDN. They have been practically since Twit started. Early on, we were having difficulty serving everybody the podcast on a website. And we knew we had a problem. In fact, you may remember, if you've been a long-time listener, sometimes it would be brought to you by AOL. We'd use AOL bandwidth. We were using somebody's crappy laptop in at DSL Extreme. It was all sorts of weird ways to get this working. And then Matt Levine from CashFly, who heard and felt my pain, came to us and said, let's fix this. And from then on, in fact, we transitioned when we added video. CashFly was right there. We transitioned to video painlessly. CashFly is really, really an amazing company. 50 POPs all over the world, which means your content's closer to your customers, outperforming any local CDN. And now CashFly is doing low latency, virtually ultra low latency, virtually no latency video streaming, less than 1 second latency. Now it's the time to ditch your unreliable WebRTC solution for their WebSocket live video workflow. It can scale to more than 1 million users. No one wants to wait for content to load. With CashFly's ultra-low latency video streaming, you dramatically increase your sites and application speed for global audiences. Plus, with CashFly's storage optimization system, you take a load off your Origin servers, you can reduce your, let's say, S3 bills, for instance, reduce bandwidth, increase your cache hit ratio to 100%. And I know you don't want to be managing your CDN. Let CashFly do it with their elite managed packages. You get VIP treatment, 24/7 support and response times in less than an hour. I love CashFly. They saved our bacon. Let them save yours. Ultra-low latency video streaming, lightning-fast gaming, which delivers downloads faster, zero lag, glitches, or outages. They do things like mobile content optimization, which offers automatic and simple image optimization so your site loads faster on any device. Multiple CDNs for redundancy and failover, intelligently balancing your traffic across multiple providers. I can go on and on. 10 times faster than traditional methods. And when we use traditional methods, often they didn't work at all. On 6 continents, they're 30% faster than other major CDNs, 98% cache hit ratio. Get this, 100% availability in the past 12 months. 100%. And I love the 24/7, 365 priority support. Cachefly.com. They'll always be there when you need them. They sure were for us. CACHEFLY, Cachefly.com. Thank you for your support of Macbreak Weekly, Cachefly. Cachefly.com. Jason Snell, pick of the week.
I know this is going to be a repeat a little bit, but it's been a long enough time that I'm going to just go back there. I'm sure somebody over the years has picked Keyboard Maestro, but not enough people know about it. This is Peter Lewis, who has been a Mac developer for a bazillion years, and for the last couple of decades, he's been doing Keyboard Maestro. It is $36. It is the premier Mac automation software. He's not kidding. There are lots of things on the Mac that you can't automate very well when you hit a wall. It doesn't work in AppleScript, or it doesn't work in shortcuts. And then you're left with some stuff. There are other tools like Hazel that'll act on files that are really great. But if you need to automate something that's not automatable, but obviously you can click on it with your mouse, Keyboard Maestro will work with it. And the example that I like to give that I just did this, I recently migrated my 6 Colors membership Slack from Slack to Discord. And I was deactivating the old Slack. And I discovered that Slack doesn't let you batch deactivate users.
One by one.
You have to click on a button. You have to click on a button. Click on the yes, I actually want to delete this. Then an alert pops up that you have to click the big red button that says, yes, delete this now. And then you scroll down to the next one and you keep doing this. Well, Keyboard Maestro is not just it's a macro tool. You can assign keyboard shortcuts to just about anything. It does everything you think. You can run an AppleScript. You can run a shell script. You can do all of these built-in actions. But one of its actions is looking at your screen and clicking on whatever image you put in. So you can take a screenshot of anything. It can be a web page. It doesn't have to be an interface element. It can be a web page. And you say, okay, this button here, and you paste it in. Click that. And then wait half a second. And then you'll see this. Click that. And then wait a half a second. And then click this. Wait 2 seconds. Scroll up a little bit and repeat 1,000 times.
Doing what you would do. That's awesome.
And you know, it's sad that there are certain interfaces that are not automatable in any way because there's no automation system that will get that little CSS floating button in that web on that web page in your browser. Yes, it is sad. I wish there were more automation tools that had those hooks, but the fact is sometimes you don't get the hooks and you have to make them yourself. But if you can click yourself, you can automate Keyboard Maestro to click and to look for what to click on next and then click that. And that's what I ended up doing. I built this thing in about 5 minutes and then set it to repeat 1,000 times and walked away. And I came back and all 1,000 people who were in that Slack had been deleted. It was amazing. So Keyboard Maestro, if you're at your wit's end and you're like, surely there must be a way for me to automate this. There is. The Keyboard Maestro will get there. It is the last resort sometimes, but I use it for other simple things. But it's moments like this where I'm so happy that I have Keyboard Maestro.
Native to Apple Silicon, $36. Not to have to click 1,000 times in Slack seems worth it.
Worth it. Just for that,
Seems
it's worth it.
worth it.
And I use it for other simple things like keyboard shortcuts to play and pause my music and stuff like that I wanted to have assigned specifically to certain keys. It does that stuff too, right? It's a general purpose macro utility, but it's got some really unique features that are just worth every penny. Yeah.
Don't ever hesitate to re-recommend something that good. I don't even know. Let me just see if we've ever recommended.
It's not in our show doc for this year. It may have been on a long ago.
No, I don't think we ever recommend. I'm looking at MBW picks.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I don't think we've ever featured it. Wow.
Well, then it's long overdue. Macbreak Weekly now, we give the seal of approval. Keyboard Maestro is so good. It is just so powerful. It's worth it.
It's one of those apps where I've always kind of known about it in the back of my head, but never really thought twice about it. Now I'm going to buy it. It sounds great.
Yeah. I wish the interface was a little better, right? Like it's a little old interface, but the fact is at its base, it is a workflow like something like shortcuts where you're building actions top to bottom, except the number of actions and the power that those have is so much more than anything like shortcuts could ever even dream of because, again, it's the Mac, it's an open system, it's a third-party utility, and it can do things like use the screen reader interface to match items on screen, and you don't even have to click on them, right? You can wait for that item to appear, and then do something else, or click near it but not right on it. And like all of that is there. It's all controllable. It's awesome.
Doug M in our chat room says it also works with a Stream Deck, John. So that would be kind of
I use it for all my Stream Deck stuff. And in fact, it's got it'll let you do things like change what's on the Stream Deck, which is really great because most scripts, you can run a script from the Stream Deck, but I have them like when I'm like right now, my Twit icon on my Stream Deck is lit up in orange because I'm in the middle of the show. And then when I press it again at the end of the show and turn off all my lights and all of that, it'll turn back to regular colors.
You are automate all the things, Jason Snell.
I am.
Wow.
I want you to automate all the things. But yeah, if you've got a Stream Deck, Keyboard Maestro is fantastic for that too.
Wow.
Do it.
Yeah. Mr. Andy Ihnatko. Boy, that's going to be a tough one to top. What do you got?
I got DriveDX by binaryfruit.com. It really gave me the information I needed. It's a drive diagnostic utility that goes beyond what disk utility does, and which basically is saying, what's the smart status of this drive? Says the smart status is okay. Like, yeah, but there's like ghouls and goblins and hoary netherworlding scents coming out of my drive. I don't think this drive is working correctly. I'm reviving my 2012 Mac Mini, which with the Fusion drive, and was working fine for like I updated it all the way to the latest OS you could get, and was working fine for a few days. But then when I was like ripping DVDs and transcoding them, it would just say, "Well, you've got 80 gigabytes worth of disk space free, but I can't write this because I'm out of disk space," or that stuff where I can't page any stuff to memory. So I knew something was up, even though it seemed to be working. DriveDX was able to say, "Yeah, this is working, but imminently going to die." It will basically, instead of just giving you a thumbs up, thumbs down, you have to sort of trust whatever it says. It will give you all the data on what's going on with this drive, including in the case of this Fusion drive. Here's all the reallocated sectors that have been going on here, meaning that it keeps having to remap sectors to mark them as closed and damaged and not for virtual use anymore. And so that's why it was basically working but failing for me. So that sort of made me think it was already backed up, but I made sure I did an absolute another backup of that second, and also put in an order immediately for a replacement SSD to swap out that Fusion drive for a new one. It's exactly the tool that I've wanted. Every single time that I've had a drive fail, I don't necessarily need to have I know that it's failing. I know that it's not working. I just need to know how bad is it. And sometimes I maybe, especially with an older drive, it seems to be working, but is it actually really working? Is it going to suddenly fail on me without any warning whatsoever? Well, this will give you the warning that you need to know that, hey, if you haven't been backing up your drive, this is a good opportunity to suddenly drop everything you're doing this afternoon and do an emergency backup right now before something really, really bad happens. It's $20, but you can download it for free, and it'll give you a free trial, and you can just basically run it on your drive. Even if you have a healthy drive, it'll also basically continue to monitor the health of your drive and give you warnings if it sees stuff that is kind of itsy about what's going on with this drive. So very, very valuable to me, and I was very, very happy to spend the $20 to actually own it.
I know, Jason, why your Twit button is orange. It's 113 degrees now.
Oh, God.
That's it. It's glowing.
Yeah,
glowing
I know
red
exactly
hot.
Why. So let's get Alex's pick and and get out of here so Jason can get out of the garage. Alex, your pick of the week.
Yeah, so I have a preview that it's not a pick yet. I've decided to create a new category.
It's a preview, not a pick.
It was announced. It was announced today, and I'm super excited, but I haven't touched it yet. So I don't have an opinion. But I think that it potentially is a real game changer. Sony released what's called I'm sorry, I threw a curve to the poor.
This is not it.
On the back end.
No, Sony FR7.
Sony.
No. So this is good. Yeah, I clicked. It was me.
So a little preview here is the Sony, the FR7. This is basically an A7. Well, it's a lot more than that, but like an A7 on a pan-tilt zoom camera.
What?
So the PTZ head. The time has come now, Leo, for you to change all the cameras in your set
to PTZs.
So it's a pan-tilt zoom camera with a full-frame sensor, and it's got it's like built for filmmakers. So So it's got in the interface. If you look at they jump forward. There's like an iPad interface that is just gorgeous.
Can it handle the lenses? I mean,
yeah. So up to it doesn't handle long lenses, but I think it's up to the 200 mil or something, 7200 or whatever.
Anything
so
you'd use in a studio.
In a studio, it's studio and filmmaking. It's what it's built for. You're not going to put this in the back of your next conference and shoot it like a lot of people use PTZs, and you're probably not going to use it in a sports environment, but in a studio environment or in a So is
it essentially an A7S body? That's their
It's not really it's a new body. It's a new setup. It's really built for this, but it's the same sensor, I think. Yeah. I'm not sure, but here you can see
good video.
There's a web app there that controls it, and it looks. I mean, I very rarely do I go, okay, this camera is a game changer. Usually, like, well, this one's really good for high end. This one's good for. This is cost effective. This works inside of my system. There's a bunch of things that we talk about there. We don't talk about like, okay, this could change a lot of things.
You wouldn't use this instead of a camera operator, but on a jib where you can't have the operator somewhere like that, right?
Well, a lot of times what we do is we use these high-end pan-tilt zooms. Now, when I do it in the past, I've used a telemetrics head with a Blackmagic camera and a Cabrillo lens. That package costs about $40,000 a unit, for all of the pieces that I put together.
But you can program a move into it. Is that why?
Oh, you can do all that stuff. But this one, we'll do it for less than 10. So it's about 9,600 and something or other.
Oh, we should buy 30 of them, John. Yeah.
Just buy three. Just buy three. So anyway, but the thing is that it is what's going to change here. I think the reason I'm excited about it as a preview is if it lives up to the game, I think you're going to see an enormous number of influencers start to use it for their studios.
Wow.
And it's really going to change the way we think. They're already been using the R7s a lot. But you could imagine, this is the kind of thing that Justine Ezerick would probably just, really
instead of Blackmagic, really, because they all seem to,
the full frame sensor is a big deal.
Or Reds.
The small form factor with a PTZ, really getting this all working with the Blackmagic camera would be a lot less seamless.
Right.
And so a lot of people just want it to be seamless. Anyway, so I'm just putting it out there. It's worth seeing because I was so excited that I saw it this morning. I saw the video and we were talking about it on office hours. And it's just we don't know yet whether we're going to pick it, but it looks really promising.
Look, somebody's put it on a slider.
Yeah.
Now you've got motion. You got a lot of motion. You got a slider and a PTZ. Yeah. Wow.
It's really well designed, and so I think it could be really, really interesting as far as what it can do. So we'll see how that goes. My pick is actually completely different thing. This is Canvas. This is what you had up before.
Yeah.
This is Canvas by Aave and Aave.io. So Canvas, we just had them on office hours this morning for the second hour. And it's a really impressive package. So what this does is when you're doing shows, you're doing stage shows or other kinds of shows, and you need to set up a lot of cues. This works in a way that is similar to things like Isadora or QLab, but it has a lot more features related to audio. So panning, audio editing, a really beautiful interface, nodal interface. So you can say, I want to take this trigger and I want to affect this and I want to make this, so when I hit a button, I want all this stuff to happen, all the way down the path. And the ability we're really interested in it because of the ability to run those cues. Now I can take OSC and a lot of other kind of queuing information, but what most of these lack is what you just showed there, which is the ability to edit audio itself. Is really hard on these apps. You either can play it or you can't, but you can't edit it, move it around, get it all working, add markers, have those markers be cues, have those cues be triggers. Here you can see animation. That's, panning between speakers, which don't have to be a 5-1 configuration. It's just like, I got a whole bunch of speakers in a building and I want something to run from here to here to here to here to here. And you can build those out. It's in beta right now, and you can sign up for the beta. And I think it's free to download one, in the beta program right now. So it's worth jumping in and kind of playing with it. The developer, Chris Baines, seems very responsive. Like he was great this morning and jumped into after hours and hung out with everybody for a little while. And on Discord, they have a Discord server. They're super responsive. And so they're really working hard on this. And I think if you're into that, if you need that kind of thing, the queuing for an event, it's a really impressive app. We use a lot of different apps like this, and this one's just definitely worth checking out.
Canvas from AVAI. Thank you, Alex Lindsay, for your picks of the week, and thank you all for being here on the hottest day of the year. That's AVAE, I'm sorry, AVAE.io. Let me get that right, AVAE.io. The rainiest day of the year for you, Andy Ihnatko. When are you going to be on GBH next?
I'm on a day early. I'm on Thursday at about 12:45. Go to wgbhnews.org to stream it live or later or on YouTube.
I can guess you'll be talking about.
I guess I'm also on WGN in Chicago earlier that morning.
Nice.
On 8:45, I think.
Nice.
And you'd have to WGN. Just Google WGN for this.
Everybody knows WGN. Everybody knows. Exactly. Great flamethrower of Chicago, Illinois.
Indeed.
Thank you, Andy Ihnatko. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., right?
Absolutely.
Pacific,
Absolutely.
1 p.m. Eastern for our Apple iPhone launch coverage. That's where Alex Lindsay will be. He'll be at officehours.global for the coverage. They do their dissection of the stream.
It's good, clean fun. Yeah, it's about usually somewhere between 80 and about 150 of us. So it's just imagine a giant panel of chit-chatting and talking about it. So it's
I wish I could.
It's a good time.
Somehow, if we could figure out how to merge the streams, we would do
We'll
it.
have to figure that out. We should figure it out. Maybe we can figure out a way that you guys can cut to it. Like you don't have to do it the whole time.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Like jump in and we talk for a little bit and then we go back to what we were doing, or maybe after the show at some point. Not
Alex, that looked like a jump cut. Do you think there was an edit there?
Exactly. I think that they took an important product.
How did they do that drone shot from the basement to the cellar?
Absolutely. The This Week in Tech Extended Cinematic Universe. I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
The multiverse.
The multiverse. Officehours.global every day of the week. Definitely the place to be if you're interested in all of this.
And we have one quick note is that IBC, the big broadcasting, this is the NAB of Europe, is this weekend, and we have a crew covering IBC. There'll be 2 hours. It's very early in the morning because it's IBC. They'll be live, but it'll be 5 a.m. It'll be out live on the Office Hours YouTube page for about 2 hours, and they're going to wander around. I think we've got 10 people on the ground and 30 supporting them on, in the cloud. So 30 people like kind of working with them, and they've been working on it for months. And so we're really excited about it. It's going to be, again, at 5 a.m. You can find it on our YouTube channel, and it should be some great coverage.
Is this like one guy's setup here that I'm looking at? Is this like how he does office hours?
That's what all of us look like.
Oh my God, that's insane.
There was on Friday or last week. I think it was Friday. Last week we broke down how we do our show,
Ruthless
like how we
reviews,
join. Ruthless reviews of the kit that we use. So if you watch that one, you'll see all these big kits, but all of our it all looks normal on the front, but on the back end they all look like that.
He's got a teleprompter.
That's Noah Sargent. This
is cray.
His is above average. It's not
above average.
Yes, it's above average. But a lot of us have pretty complicated kids. Noah's is probably one of the most refined of the bunch. Yeah, so he's got. But that's you buy. So if you want to see like how we set up for office hours,
this is insane. Okay, nobody does this for Twit. I can tell you right now. Someday we should do ruthless reviews of your guys' setup. Except nobody would admit it. Nobody'd want a picture of it. All right, officehours.global. And of course, if you need to hire Alex, 090.media. Jason Snell, 6colors.com. Add a new color, bright red, as it hits 113 degrees in beautiful downtown Marin. Thank you for being here, Jason. Podcasts galore at 6colors.com/podcasts. Anything else you want to plug?
No, there's an Apple event tomorrow, so watch for that. Watch.
Oh, yeah. So you're going to tell me what you're doing on Relay FM. You and Mike Hurley after the event?
Yeah, about 1:30 Pacific. We'll be live from Cupertino, probably from on the Apple Park campus somewhere right across the street.
How do you stream that? How does he stream that?
It'll be audio only, but I think Mike will stream it. I think I will be doing a Zoom conversation with Mike, and then he'll be streaming it on Relay. But we'll get the audio stream out there. That's usually our biggest our biggest show of the year too. So we'll break it all down right afterward, and then I'll be writing about it for the rest of my life at 6colors.com.
Okay, it's exciting. I wish we were going to have a Macbreak Weekly tomorrow, but we will have one in a week. And in a way, that's good. The dust will have settled. The smoke will have cleared. The reality distortion field will have been shut down, and we can talk honestly about what we learn tomorrow. I hope we will see you all, though, tomorrow for the Apple event, which we will kind of comment on. Andy and I will comment on as it's ongoing. We do Macbreak Weekly on Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. You can watch us do it live at live.twit.tv. Chat with us live at irc.twit.tv. Of course, Club Twit members get their very own green room behind the scenes in the Club Twit Discord. That's part of the many benefits. A mere $7 a month gets you all of our shows, including this one, ad-free. It gets you access to the Club Twit Discord and the special events that are always going on in the Club Twit Discord, all the great conversations, plus shows that we don't put out to the public. The club supports them, so they're club only, like Hands on Mac with Micah Sargent, Hands on Windows with Paul Thurrott, the Untitled Linux Show with Jonathan Bennett, the Giz Fizz with Dick T. Bartolo, Stacy's Book Club with Stacey Hickenbotham, etc., 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 and the Twit Plus feed with all sorts of behind-the-scenes stuff that doesn't make it to the shows. For $7 a month, I think we should raise the rates, but we're not going to. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Lisa's drawn the line. We did add a yearly membership for the same amount. We don't give you a discount, but it just makes it easier. You only pay once a year. There's also enterprise memberships, and those are discounted for large groups. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Now get back to work, because break time is over. Thank you, everybody.
The world is changing rapidly. So rapidly, in fact, that it's hard to keep up. That's why Micah Sargent and I, Jason Howell, talk with the people making and breaking the tech news on Tech News Weekly every Thursday. They know these stories better than anyone, so why not get them to talk about it in their own words? Subscribe to Tech News Weekly, and you won't miss a beat every Thursday at twit.tv.